are bullshit.
I do not want to talk about Impact on this program tonight.
Let's play another drop.
I hate that show. Let me just tell you the one defining thing about how stupid fucking Impact was this week.
Okay.
This defined everything. This is how goddamn stupid this show is. Booker T is a heel. And Samoa Joe is a babyface. At least that's what I think.
That's what we've been led to believe.
I have not had an Impact script sent to me for some time, so I cannot guarantee that these are facts. But I have been led to believe that Samoa Joe is a babyface and Booker T is a heel.
A dastardly heel.
On this show tonight, Samoa Joe, the babyface, and Kevin Nash, 2-on-1 against the heel, trapped the heel in the cage, and then Samoa Joe proceeded to produce a weapon and beat the unarmed man, and upon beating this unarmed man in 2-on-1 fashion, the lights
could not escape.
The lights went out and Joe was laid out, and later in the show he cried about it. This is just the pinnacle.
It was
two men trapped another man. One of the men pulled out a weapon and beat the shit out of the unarmed man. These two men are supposed to be babyfaces. The babyface was then beaten up. His dastardly 2-on-1 weapon-assisted plot was foiled. And then he cried about it.
Right.
That right there just defines the entire show.
It really does.
I watched this show, and these are the words that I thought in my head. Normally I think, I hate this show. This show is fucking stupid. I never want to watch this show again. This time I had words I don't know if I've thought before. I'm sure I've thought this before, but these were the words that were really, really pumped through my mind on this particular show. Those words were, these people have no idea what they're doing.
You just figured this out?
These people have no earthly idea what they're doing. This is like monkeys.
No,
monkeys.
Don't insult monkeys like this. Monkeys can produce a better television show.
Monkeys were given a television program and told to book wrestling. And yes, it probably would be better than this.
Thank you.
These people have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what... I would sit here and say they have no idea what good TV is, which is true, but I don't even think they know what good TV is. They just have no idea what they're doing.
No.
They have no earthly idea.
They make it up as they go along.
No, that's not even it. WWE makes it up as they go along.
And it works out fine?
WWE makes it up as they go along. But WWE at least seems to, most of the time, not all the time, as is in the case with Mike Adamle, which was ridiculous, most of the time they seem to have an idea of what wrestling fans want.
I see.
And what makes a modicum of sense. TNA has absolutely no idea.
It's true. It's true. Nothing they do is smart. Nothing they do makes me want to see.
I mentioned this last week, but we went to L.A. and talked to a whole bunch of people, and none of them watch Impact.
Good.
None of them care.
Good.
That you mention Impact and they laugh. And they're like, fuck no, I don't watch that show. This is not just me. In fact, if you look at, let's look at the Raw and the SmackDown audience, they claim that there's only a 20% overlap. That's what they claim. They could be full of shit.
Are you suggesting they may lie?
But let's just say there's only a 50% overlap. That means there's about 7 million people watching WWE programming. Actually, there's ECW too. Let's just say 7 million.
Sure.
Let's say 7 million people. It's a nice big
round number.
7 million people watch WWE programming, meaning they watch wrestling programming every week. 7 million people watch wrestling program every week, and 20,000 care enough to buy TNA pay-per-views. What does that tell you? This is not just me, everybody. This is not just me. There's a major difference between taking time out of your schedule to watch a free TV show and actually paying to see a pay-per-view.
I don't want to do either.
Well, you have to. This show. Let's review this show. Where's my notes? I don't even want to go over this. This show just... Was this show always this bad? Was it this bad in 2005? When people go, the Bryan and Vinny shows in 2005, they were so full of joy. Was Impact this bad then?
It cannot have been.
It's impossible.
There's no way I could be happy watching this show.
This show, it opened up... Here are the two good things on this show. Two good things on the show are Booker T and the women. That's it. Luckily, Booker T opened the show, and the women closed the show. So, really, this was not the worst Impact I've ever seen. Everything that did not involve Booker T, actually the Joe thing involved Booker T, so that doesn't even count. Everything that did not involve Booker T speaking or the women was among the worst programming I've ever seen on television. Booker opened the show, promising to take Joe on a guided tour of the 6 sides of pain later on tonight. His dangerous ring and cage with weapons. And he said he was also going to be inviting another special guest as well. And Borash wanted to know if the guest was Sting, and Booker just smirked. And then they sipped some champagne, and Borash tried to sneak a sip, but was shunned. And that was that.
Booker T knows the main event of the pay-per-view has stupid stipulations, so he always points it out. It is a 6 sides of steel with weapons.
Yes.
With weapons, everyone, is the new inside a steel cage.
Yes.
This was started out inside a steel cage, and it's being done with weapons.
With weapons. Wasn't it supposed to be a TLC match in a cage? Isn't that what they said last week?
Booker just said there would be ladders and stuff.
Yeah, ladders. I didn't see a ladder in the cage this week. Maybe they realized that why would you need a ladder in a cage? Why would you not just climb the cage? What would you do with the ladder? What would you do with the ladder?
That you wouldn't do anything else?
At least in
Nothing.
a ladder match, you got to climb the ladder to win. Why would you just have a ladder in a match? Why don't you just have a bunch of random pieces of metal?
Like they had here.
Why do you have to have a ladder? I don't get it. So then we had Beer Money against Christian and Rhino in a number 1 contenders match. Don West explained when this match opened that because a black bat had been seen on TV the last few weeks, that meant Sting must be around.
There's no other explanation.
There is no other logical explanation for how a black bat could possibly be involved.
Every black baseball bat on the planet Earth is in the closet of Sting.
Apparently.
And he doles them out only to his friends and trusted confidants.
So, they had a match, and I have no earthly idea what happened at the end of it.
Well, here's what happened. Brother Ray Dudley interfered. Johnny Devine interfered. There was a stick. There was a ref bump. Devon Dudley interfered. Miss Jackie interfered. The stick got used again. Team 3D, who are not in the match, hit the 3D, and then there was a pinfall. This was the opening contest.
Yes.
This jerked the curtain, as they say.
Yeah.
This started.
I just gave up.
3 men.
I mean, I long time ago I said that from now on when I review this show, I'm just going to give up when it gets to something like this. But I hadn't been doing that. I'd actually been doing my job.
You've been trying.
No more.
You fool.
No more. I just gave up during this match. It was like, shit happened, Beer Money won. It's all I care about.
3 men.
And I don't even care about that.
A woman and a stick and a ref bump interfered in this match.
Yeah. So, there you go. And then Christian cut a promo, and this was awesome. He said they were going to be in 3D's hometown, so he was challenging 3D in their hometown to their, I guess, trademark match.
A tables match?
Which is, well, no, now it's a street fight.
Oh, a New Jersey street fight, he said.
Now listen, I realize this is pointless what I'm saying right here, but let's just say that I train in jiu-jitsu, which I do. I would never go up to a guy that I was mad at and say, let's just say he's a Muay Thai practitioner. I would never get so mad at the guy that I go up and say, let's have a fight under your rules. That would be dumb. But in TNA, all baby faces are dumb. We're so mad at you. We're going to go into your hometown, and we want to fight under your rules in your match. Dumb baby faces.
Dude, that is so far down the list of things to hate about this show.
I just hate everything about this show. I'm going to nitpick every single thing on this entire show. Everything.
Fine.
So then Lauren was backstage with The Rock and Raves and Christy Hemme, and they had the most annoying thing I've ever heard. All I know is that Christy said they don't know where they're going, and they don't know what they're doing, which I'm sure is a lyric from some fucking song. But when I heard that, I just thought, so why did they interview you then? You don't know what you're doing or where you're going, so why the fuck are we talking to you?
They also said they are living the gimmick.
Great. So you're just perpetually shitty?
You walk around real life playing your toy guitars. Okay.
Then we had Jay Lethal, Shark Boy, and Curryman against Johnny Devine and The Rock and Raves.
Hey, stop right there. I have a question. Have we not been watching skits the past couple weeks involving all the masked geeks?
Yeah.
Shark Boy, Curryman, and Super Eric?
Yeah.
So when they announced a six-man tag, and the Rock and Rave folks mentioned the masked geeks, and then out came Curryman and out came Shark Boy, wouldn't you have thought Super Eric would have been the third man on their team?
You'd think.
Are they already not teaming together?
You'd think.
Are they fighting now? Did I miss a breakup somewhere?
This was just a random match. At which point they announced a random stipulation for the pay-per-view. Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt are going to have, I believe, a chain match. Why? I have no idea. I don't have an idea on the earth, except they wanted a stupid stipulation. So, then, again, we had a bunch of moves, a giant collection of big moves, I wrote.
Bodies flying everywhere.
Now, I can't complain too much, because what this was total nonstop action, and they merely delivered what they billed themselves as. So fine. Lethal won, and then after the match, he called Val into the ring. He noticed that her wedding ring was gone, and so he
pouted.
Yeah, he lost it, and he said, I could take a hint. I don't think he wanted to marry me in the first place. Which begs the question, why were you with her this whole time then, you jackass? So then he stormed out.
He's the babyface, by the way.
And as he stormed out, they immediately cut to the back. For what? Because they had to interview a fucking country music geek who had no idea what was going on Impact. He didn't even know the fish man's name.
He was very excited about Fish Guy or whatever.
This was when it really hit me. These people have no idea what they're doing.
They
just shot an angle with Jay Lethal, where Jay Lethal broke up with his woman that for the past, how many months has it been that they've been
It feels like 3, 4, 5.
It's probably been more than that. Let's just say 6. They've been together, and they were going to get married, and they've been a couple for 6 months. He broke up with her. And within 5 seconds of him breaking up with her, they cut backstage so they could interview a country music geek who had no idea what was going on Impact.
This buried their own show. It was a segment devoted to making their own show look dumb. And by this segment, I'm actually referring just to the country music guy. The fact that he called a wrestler Fish Guy, and then they all just moved on, and no one yelled cut, no one said reshoot, no one said, let's make our stars look like stars instead of geeks, says everything you need to know about TNA.
These people have no idea what they're doing.
It made them laugh, and so they put it on TV. It didn't occur to them whether it actually helped their company anyway.
And then Super Eric walked up and said they needed to find the ring. Great.
Maybe they take it to Mount Doom.
Then we were back, and Joe was screaming. He also believes that Sting has been handing the bat to people. What evidence do we have of this?
There's a black bat, Brian.
But, I mean, is there any other evidence?
Sting carries black bats.
But is there any other evidence? I mean, do we have
What more do you need?
I need, evidence that would hold up in court.
Well, then.
No, there's not.
No.
There's not even circumstantial evidence here.
Oh.
There is no evidence to speak of. A black bat has appeared.
Yes.
I got a fucking black bat in my house somewhere. I guarantee Sting has.
You don't have sporting gear.
That's true, I lied.
But you could. But you could. So they aired then a Sting, Joe, Booker video recap, which made it abundantly clear why Sting attacked Joe at the pay-per-view, and then Don West immediately asked, why is Sting doing this?
And
they're all dumb.
He continued to rant and rave, saying that one way or another, Sting had to be involved. Had to be.
There was no other explanation.
Since, and I quote, his fingerprints were all over this. His fingerprints, everybody. A black bat has been found.
Did they dust the bat for prints?
Let's move on.
And even so, doesn't Sting wear gloves?
Nash met with Joe. Joe was nearly weeping, saying that Booker was out there punking him out, and every time he almost got his hands on him, Sting beat him up. Sting! And Nash, the voice of reason, said, "How do you know it's Sting?" And Joe said, "Well, I was looking at Booker eye to eye, and when the lights went out, somebody hit me from behind. Therefore, it had to be Sting."
That actually was his case. Joe would have made a very poor detective.
These fucking people have no idea what they're doing. Their characters are so goddamn stupid.
All of them.
Here's the point, though. Here's the point. Let's say that in the end, it does turn out that Sting has been responsible for all this and turned heel, okay? The fact remains, there has been no evidence. There has been no evidence whatsoever. These people are falling for this bullshit with no evidence. It doesn't even matter what happens in the end.
It's the entire company falling for this, except Nash.
So, Nash said, "Well, if there's two men, I better have your back." So there you go.
They had a plan.
So then, Booker was in the 6 sides of steel
with
weapons, which he announced. And then he said he was going to show what a gentleman he was by inviting Joe into his cage. But he wanted him to know that he was the beast up in here.
He said, "I'm the man up in this beast."
So he said he promised the lights would not go out tonight. Joe came through the crowd. And then Joe got on the steps, and this is what he said. "If I get into that cage tonight, I am going to beat your ass." Joe then proceeded to get into the cage and not beat his ass. They began to speak to each other. This is the segment I was talking about earlier, by the way. It gets significantly better. So Joe gets in the ring with Booker, and Booker calls him basically a 2-bit sucker for getting into the cage without backup. He essentially called him a coward for showing up to this fight empty-handed. So then Joe, the babyface, reveals he didn't show up empty-handed. He has a weapon.
A whacking stick.
Booker T, the heel, does not have a weapon.
Even though there's weapons all around the cage.
Sure. He decides he's just going to bail. So he attempts to bail, and Kevin Nash holds the door shut. So Booker T is now trapped in the ring with a stick-wielding madman, and he is unarmed. The madman proceeds to beat the shit out of Booker T.
With the weapon.
With the weapon. Charmel runs down to make the save, and Nash carries her to the back, grabbing her ass the entire time. So the baby faces now have doubled on the man, beat him with a stick, and raped his wife. So then, a bat falls from the ceiling.
Joe was distracted because he was watching Nash rape Charmel, and Joe was nodding approvingly.
Yes. A bat fell from the ceiling, and Booker T used it to save himself.
To save the day.
He made the save for himself with this bat, and he left Booker laying. So then they go to commercial, and when they come back, Joe's gone, and AJ's in the ring. And AJ starts screaming about how your bat keeps knocking Samoa Joe out. This is what he's screaming. And meanwhile, the crowd is dead silent. I mean, I've never, in all the time I've been watching TNA, heard the crowd as dead silent as they were here.
Which is amazing.
I mean, they were making no noise.
No. Well, we are both, myself in particular, both prone to hyperbole. This crowd was completely silent.
They were completely silent.
They were bereft of noise.
And why should they not be? This man was ranting and raving, and he had no proof of anything whatsoever. And everybody knew it. So he's ranting and raving and screaming, and the crowd is dead silent. And finally, Angle hit the ring after Sting's music played. And Angle killed AJ with an Olympic slam. And Angle was screaming that he was beating up AJ because AJ had basically fucked his wife. At which point, Don West said, and I quote, That's something that's never been proven or anything near proven.
But it has been proven that the bat belongs to Sting.
Maybe it's just me. But there is so much more evidence that AJ is fucking Karen than there is that Sting is involved in any way in any of this. Is it just me?
No.
These people have no idea what they're doing. AJ's shown up on TV with the wife. He's arrived with the wife. He has held hands with the wife.
He went on a date with the wife.
He went on a date with the wife. And Don West has no proof whatsoever that these people are fucking. Meanwhile, a bat has appeared in the impact zone. That is the only evidence whatsoever. And Don West and every stupid fucking babyface in this company is convinced it has to be Sting. How can you get behind people like this?
I don't know.
It's impossible.
I don't have an answer. I do know that on the list of people fooled by this, you cannot include the fans. Because when AJ began his promo, before they went silent, the fans were into this, and they were chanting, Sting!
Yeah.
They were chanting for Sting. The fans are not fooled.
This is so bad. I mean, how can people continue to watch this program?
Here's another question.
If you're intelligent insulted to such a degree in every single segment. Just watching such ungodly stupid people.
So here's AJ Styles. He's getting beat up by Kurt Angle. He's been jumping behind, laid out. He's helpless, defenseless, taking a severe beating. Where was Abyss?
He only comes out sometimes.
Isn't Abyss the guy who makes the save when babyfaces need help?
Only sometimes.
Only at random,
and AJ
completely pointless intervals.
AJ has no friends to speak of. Not even Joe. Where the fuck was Joe?
Thor?
Just disappeared. I guess, yeah, his back hurt. So then Shark Boy and Curry Man wanted to do a cavity search on the beautiful people to find Val's ring. This failed. And then they teased a mystery woman in the main event.
Besides Curry Man's racist gimmick of saying things like rook out and radies, Shark Boy referred to the women as ignorant sluts.
Yeah.
He is now stealing lines from Dan Aykroyd on Saturday Night Live in the 70s.
Great. I don't think anybody, including the people that wrote this, knew that. Then we had Petey Williams doing a promo about Consequences Creed, and the gimmick is he is taking Creed lightly, and that was that. So then we got Petey and Consequences. Herbie Sadler, or whatever the fuck his name is, did commentary, and he's worse than Adam Lee. He has nothing whatsoever to add, including comedy. So then Creed, they did the match, and Raka interfered. Creed ran Petey into Raka, knocked her off the apron, and then hit a TKO for not the pin.
No.
Petey, of course, kicked out of this spot.
Petey kicked out of the finish.
And then Petey went for his move, and Creed cradled him for the Destroyer, which begs the question, what was the interference for?
I don't know.
Why would you do interference that didn't lead to the finish?
I don't know.
They did interference just for the sake of doing interference.
To kill time.
No, that's not even why. The match could have just gone longer. They did interference just because, I don't know why because, but they did it. They didn't need it. It didn't lead to the finish. It was just, let's have some interference here. This is the worst show I've ever seen. Sharky and Curry were trying to feel up the big-boobed Hispanic girl, whose name I don't even remember, nor do I care, the vampire's girlfriend. They failed, and all I know is everybody in this segment was talking over themselves, and it was total nonstop sound. So, no buys. Thank you, Vince.
Okay.
AJ was ranting backstage and said if Sting was not involved tonight, it had to be Magic. Magic, he said. Threatened to beat Sting's ass, and then demanded a last man standing match with Kurt, at which point they immediately cut away.
He was shouting. It was loud. It was grating. It was annoying. I didn't want to see it.
More of Karen's angle with Kaz.
This, on the other hand, I wanted to see.
Fine, go for it.
So, Karen's angle rules because it's so bad. So Kaz explains, after last week's debacle where he explained that he had hated wrestling and found out about politics and all the BS and negativity, and everyone watching assumed he was talking about TNA until we thought about it and realized he had to have been talking about his very short stint with WWE. So they mentioned he came back, and all he did was win. And he won a match against Kurt Angle and took him to the limit and was just barely cut off at the end, and he won the X Division wacky cage match with a tiny hole in the roof, and And he has all these great moments. But then he lost the X Division or the Ultimate X match the last show, and Team Mexico won. And because of that match alone, he is in such a funk that he's ending his career immediately.
Yeah.
And he declared, I wanted to do this in the Impact Zone. Which begs the question, why are you doing it here? You can't wait an hour?
No.
This is filmed in an entirely different state, and you can't wait till next week. You had to make the announcement here. So he announced what had been announced on the website the week before, which is that he's quitting. Effective immediately, he is done with TNA. There will be no more Kaz. And Karen was moved. She stood, and she hoped he would come back and thanked him for his time there, and they hugged. That was it. That was the end, and so that was that, and they went back to the arena where Tenay explained that the cameras kept rolling, and they cut back to what happened next, which was Karen was in her chair talking about Kaz, and who should show up but Tomko?
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand that Tomko has actually left this company.
Yeah.
After this filming, he said, somewhere apparently in this evening the next day, he said, fuck this place, it sucks here, and left.
Yeah.
Now,
God bless the guy.
Good for him, yes. I guess they couldn't edit this out. It was impossible, and they probably 48 hours to make this show without an appearance by Tomko here. But he showed up, he terrorized Karen, he flipped the table over, he announced he was going to make her life a living hell, he pushed the camera away, and she screamed, then it ended.
Yeah.
Where did Kaz go?
This was after he'd left.
And he quit.
Yeah.
He quit saving women, apparently.
Well, no, he left the building. He drove home. This was later in the day. It's behind-the-scenes footage.
So she was sitting in that chair for hours?
This is by far this is the least thing to hate on this show, is where Kaz was. Then Lauren interviewed Nash, who said it was clearly Sting. He's gone to the dark side. And then Joe limped in, and no joke, watch the tape. I believe Samoa Joe was actually crying. I think he was actually crying during this segment. And why was he crying? He was crying because his double team, 2-on-1 weapons attack on an unarmed man had backfired on him. Samoa Joe was crying because of this.
This is a bad show.
If you gave me thousands and thousands of dollars, I could not write a worse show.
This is a very bad
I just don't have it in me. Like take a great worker like Shawn Michaels and try and have him do a bad match.
Impossible.
He couldn't.
No.
Because he's done good matches for so long that he unconsciously does the right things. I could not consciously write a show this bad. It is impossible. Because every day, every time I watch this show, there's something new that I never could have even thought of. I never could have thought of this.
I know your top
in my wildest dreams.
Cry because his 2-on-1 weapon attack was spoiled.
Never would I have thought that would be. Never in a million years would I have thought that.
What a terrible show.
I'm going to book an angle where my top babyface tries to double team a man who has no weapon, beats the shit out of him with a weapon, and then it backfires, and later in the show, he sheds tears because his plan failed. In a million fucking years, this never would have occurred to me to do something this bad.
Well, that's why you're not in charge of TNA.
This show is amazing. Then Matt Morgan beat Sal Rinauro.
Sal Rinauro did not get offense.
No, thank God.
We should point that out. The rare occasion TNA does something right, we should point that out.
He has also joined the Mile High Club, so he's also a bathroom fucker with Morgan. And then Morgan challenged Tomko to a match. This had to have been edited. All I know is that Morgan called out Tomko. Tomko came out. A million refs separated them. I looked away for literally about 2 seconds. When I looked back, they were in the ring again, and their security was nowhere to be found.
Okay, here's what happened when in the 2 seconds he looked away. A million security guys were there. Tomko broke free. Let me repeat that. Tomko broke free. Matt Morgan was restricted. He could not fight back against this swarm of midgets around him. The 7-foot blueprint was helpless. So Tomko broke free. He hit Matt Morgan, and then he ran away. So he bailed. Morgan called him back in. Tomko looked back and said, okay. And he ran back. Here's where the security vanished.
Disappeared.
Like smoke, just gone.
They'd done their job.
I guess.
They went away.
Maybe they're paid by the hour and their hour had expired.
And then Morgan hit him with the, whatever you call it, the Hellevator, and that was the end of that, and apparently the last we'll ever see of Tomko.
So okay. The fact Tomko was on that show at all would indicate that they didn't know at the time he was quitting. So if he was not quitting, why would you have them fight and then have Morgan hit him with his finisher?
Because they're idiots. It's the answer.
And if they did know he was quitting, why show the bit with Karen? Why not just show Matt calling out Tomko when they fight and Morgan kills him?
I don't have an answer, Vince.
They're dumb. No. Dumb people are smarter than this.
So then
Maybe they're drunk.
The masked geeks revealed that Sanjay had stolen the ring from Val in the hospital bed last week. But, of course, they never showed footage of this.
Yeah. They revealed this by watching footage. We saw the back of the monitor. And in hindsight, I sort of recall Sanjay holding something and smiling, but I had no idea what it was or what the point of it was. And these fucktards
didn't show us.
Didn't show the footage that their own characters saw.
Yeah. Then we had Team 3D and Beer Money doing a promo. They're facing Christian Rhino and LAX in an 8-man next week. Whoop-de-doo. No DQs, Bubba added. Oh! Well, thank God.
Otherwise, here in TNA, they may have followed the rules.
Then we had Taylor Wilde and Gail Kim against the Beautiful People. I can't complain about this. It was a fun match.
I can complain about the finish.
Well, yeah. Velvet Sky has improved. I will give her that. She stuck out like a fucking sore thumb here.
She is not as good as the other 3 girls.
She was really bad. And the finish was Gail drop-kicking Velvet into a sunset flip by...
Boy, you were giving away too much credit.
Taylor Wilde. It failed.
Here's what happened.
Failed badly in execution.
Gail got dumped, so it was 2-on-1 on Taylor. The fans love Taylor, so this part was just awesome. They whipped her in and went for a double backdrop. Taylor went to sunset flip Velvet Sky. So here's Velvet Sky trying to fight back. Her partner, Angelina Love, is immediately to her left, perhaps even touching her.
Doesn't grab her arm or anything.
Velvet
Just
Sky
stands there.
Velvet
trapped.
Sky waves her arms, bonks Angelina in the head. Angelina falls down. She has been floored by this blow. Then she gets back up. Still doesn't help her partner. Still just gets to her feet and stands there. Then Gail came in and drop-kicked her. And then Velvet Sky got sunset flipped. Dumb!
This show. So, yeah. Other than that, it was a fun little match. And then afterwards...
they cut up to the rafters for...
No, we're jumping ahead, Vince. The heels went to work on the baby faces.
Oh, I did. Yes.
And then Gail made a big comeback, and suddenly who should hit the ring but Awesome Kong, who destroyed both of them with awesome bombs, which did not look comfortable. And then ODB and the shaved-headed girl hit the ring, and Kong backed away. And the girls are the best thing on this show, aside from Booker, as noted earlier. But I just don't have the love after the rest of this program.
So then they cut to the rafters for what I swear to God had to be no more than a 10-second skit. This was a blur. But the gist of it is, Joe was in the rafters screaming for Sting, and there was a bird.
That's it.
That's what happened.
There was a bird.
A bird got loose in the impact zone. Wow. That's never happened in a building before, a bird getting inside.
Yeah. A bird, everybody. So that was the big ending of the show. Joe saw a bird.
You know, the first time this Sting has gone bad angle was done, which I believe was in 1997, perhaps 98, it's been a while, WCW went to the trouble of finding another wrestler who was approximately the same size and shape as Sting and putting makeup on him. So you could see a human form that looked vaguely like Sting if you weren't paying attention. TNA has found bats and a bird.
Yeah. To the back! All right, let's get to the Impact here. They plugged an 8-man weapons gauntlet match.
For no reason, for free, here on this show.
We'll get into that later. They actually had one good thing where Borash and the Generic Blonde and BG James previewed the show from different places in the building. This was something different. It was something fun. Thumbs up. That's where the thumbs up end on this program. Roxy faced Jackie in a bimbo brawl, meaning, yes, another weapons match, with Tracy as special referee for no good reason. Great start to the show here. I have no idea why they're using weapons to build up a weapons pay-per-view. Should not the idea be that you got to pay for the weapons?
No, Brian, you're being old-fashioned.
There's a line on the show I'll get to later that just personified this entire program. Perhaps personified is the wrong word. What's the word? It defined this entire program. Thanks, Vince. Then we had this match, as noted, and Roxy came out with weapons, threw them into the ring. Jackie threw them out. Jackie kicked her in the face. People were chanting for Jackie, who I don't think was supposed to be the babyface. And then after doing a million things with weapons, hitting each other with a million weapons, slamming each other with weapons and onto weapons, Roxy won with a hold, the voodoo drop.
Wacky.
Match was fine. The whole thing was just ridiculous.
It was so, again, the opener with a million weapon shots and a pointless, and by the end, totally pointless special guest referee. There was no reason for Tracy Brooks to be out there. It accomplished nothing. And I'm reminded again of when they started doing these women's hardcore matches. They called them Bimbo Knockout Brawls because Mickey Knuckles was in them, Moose, and her gimmick was she hated bimbos. She, of course, is hurt and on the shelf, so she's not there. So are they both bimbos in this match then?
Apparently all the women on the show were just bimbos.
I see. And they're fighting to see who's the toughest bimbo. What a noble title.
Vince, you're asking questions.
I'm going to ask more.
There are no answers to these questions.
Well, here's another one. Mike Tenay, right before this match, he described Hard Justice as TNA's most hardcore pay-per-view of the year. Why?
Because there's weapons in all the matches.
Every show they do has... They have a whole show where something about things inside a steel cage.
Well, it's not as hardcore as this one, apparently.
Huh.
Then we had the blonde chick interviewing Rhino and Christian about the weapons match tonight, and how 3D was threatening to bring a table. And Christian said... Team 3D was obviously afraid they were going to knock them off their mountaintop. And I thought, what mountaintop? What mountaintop is Team 3D on the top of? What mountain? Let's just give TNA the benefit of the doubt. And let's just be completely full of shit and pretend that TNA is the biggest wrestling company in the world. They're still not at the top of the mountain. They are not the champions.
Oh.
So I don't know why this annoyed me so much. But Christian then said if they didn't take out Team 3D in the weapons match tonight, they could just try and get at the pay-per-view. That defines the show.
It's all just a bunch of shows.
We're going to give you everything for free tonight. And if you want to see it again, buy the pay-per-view.
The TNA merely does shows, and by purely random chance, some of them they charge people to watch.
I just cannot understand.
Well, you see, they're fucktards.
Every week I'm amazed more and more. I'm not even mad this week. I laugh at the idiocy this week. That's good.
I also like the line in here where they were referencing the infamous glass table that Team 3D has been threatening, and Rhino threatened to put it in a corner and put them through it with a gore. Then he asked, then what are you going to do? Bleed?
Eric Young told SoCal Val that the Prince Justice thing had found her engagement ring. He said the man who abducted it was Sanjay Dutt. SoCal Val said she could not believe this. He would never do that.
Actually, it's even better than that. I know you're getting somewhere. He didn't say Sanjay. He said Haji. Because you see, he's Indian. So they had to give him the name of the kid from Johnny Quest. If Jay had the ring, perhaps it would have been Leroy.
Anyway,
but it was Sanjay, so they called him Haji.
She said this was absurd, and it could not possibly be Sanjay. So then we had Sanjay Dutt versus Curryman, and SoCal Val immediately came out screaming at Dutt that she wanted her ring back. Now, I could have sworn in the previous segment she didn't believe that he had it.
0 seconds prior.
And she immediately came out and accused him of having it.
Right.
All right, fine.
That happened.
They explained, will you stop moving back and forth for fuck's sake? They explained the brawl and chain match at the pay-per-view.
Black tie brawl and chain match.
Sorry.
Don't want to screw that up.
Anyway, you can win by submission, pinfall, or by stripping the other man of his tuxedo, meaning, yes, they will be wearing tuxedos in this match.
With a chain.
The most hardcore pay-per-view of the year for TNA. So, Super Eric ran in after Sanjay won using the ropes, beat him up, pulled the wedding ring out of his tights. Val pitched a fit. Sanjay then explained that Well, you see, it fell out of your whatever at the hospital, and I just picked it up and held on to it. And she ended up giving him a hug. Who would ever date this woman?
I have no idea. I must point out that even here, TNA makes things so much more complicated than they had to. Sanjay defeats Curry Man in a wrestling match, then kicks him in the balls for no good reason, just to kick him in the balls. Then Val gets in the ring, then Sanjay leaves, then Shark Boy comes out, throws Sanjay in the ring, Shark Boy comes in the ring, Sanjay takes out Shark Boy, then Super Eric came out.
I already lost you.
Exactly. Exactly.
The blonde girl interviewed Team 3D and Beer Money, and in this promo, Bubba Ray Dudley buried the concept of straight wrestling matches. Who wants to see that, he asked. I do. Maybe I'm the only one.
Perhaps you and I are alone.
And I should note that they spent about 70% of this promo burying the interview chick. Just keep that in mind for now, everybody. Just keep that in mind. Then we had a Sheikh Abdul Bashir promo, which was the usual. Jay Lethal and Consequences Creed faced the Motor City Machine Guns. They had a really fun, high-paced TV match. And during the match, they noted that the next segment would involve Karen Angle doing a new Karen's Angle with Frank Trigg. And this was when I had one of my usual brilliant ideas, if I do say so myself. Every week someone's getting canned, or they quit. So the gimmick should be that every time she interviews somebody, they quit. She should have interviewed Tomko this week.
Would have been awesome.
Last week she interviewed Kaz, and it ended with him quitting the company. Then she could interview Tomko, and he quits the company. Just do it every week. She causes everybody to quit the company, much like she causes me to never want to watch this show again. Anyway, they had this match. It was all great, four-way. The Machine Guns, for those of you that have been following these special rules that each team and each wrestler has in TNA, their rules are lucha rules. So 2 men can pin 1 in Motor City Machine Gun matches, and the ref just counts along. So anyway, Creed, yes?
I'm sorry, I thought you were done with the match.
Creed ended up pinning Shelley, I believe, so he gets a shot at Petey Williams for the X title. Apparently that was a stip. I don't know. They just said that afterwards. And then they did an angle where Creed and Lethal offered a handshake, but Shelley refused to shake Creed's hand and shoved him. And TNA actually did something right here. Because of the tapings, they had Shelley and Sabin get into a shoving match, apparently teasing a breakup. And apparently someone who is not a complete fucking goddamn idiot thought, bad idea. And they actually edited that part off this television show. So TNA, way to go.
It is remarkable that the only credit for doing something right after they first do something so horrifically wrong.
Yeah, this is the most wrong thing you could possibly do in this company, is break up the Motor City fucking Machine Gun.
That would be so retarded, yes. The match was tons of fun. They got a decent amount of time, and not a single commercial break. And then a clean finish. Nobody ran in. They did a little wacky handshake deal afterwards, but it was not a big deal. So this is a TNA anomaly of a good match without a commercial interruption and no bullshit and simple fun.
And they edited out the real stupid stuff.
So
this, everybody, was a victory for TNA.
Rousing victory.
This was a thumbs up. Then we had Karen doing her segment with Trigg. It went approximately 0 seconds before they were screaming at each other about whether or not Karen was a whore. I do not know if she's a whore.
Literally true.
I do not care if she's a whore. I don't ever want to see Karen Angle on my television set again as long as I live on this earth. This was a wretched, wretched promo that involved screaming and yelling and annoyances, and then a geek ran in and Frank Trigg punched him right in the fucking nose and broke it.
Oh, God.
It was a sickening crack.
He punched him in the face. You know, I understand he's the MMA guy training for wrestling. This did not look like even a half-speed punch. This looked like a punch aimed to kill. He punched this guy in the face, and the guy went down.
Hard and fast.
Hard, and he landed in the chair, clutching his face, and the camera cut away briefly. And the best part to me, Frank Trigg didn't even stop.
No.
He didn't care about this man whose face has been ruined forever.
Just kept going.
He just turned to call Karen a whore some more, and when the camera cut back, the poor dude punched in the face was just gone. He disappeared forever. I also like that. Let's review the set design for Karen's Angle.
God.
There's a big photo of Karen. There's a big photo of Kaz, her first guest, who then quit. And then, for no reason, a photo of Awesome Kong. That just entertained me. They had a random wrestler shot to stick in the third spot here.
Then we had Kurt doing an interview with Borash about the last man standing match with AJ at the pay-per-view. And Kurt talked about what a great wrestler he was, and he's just going to beat AJ at the pay-per-view. And then he started talking about how AJ had spit in his face and spit in the face of all the American troops, and thus he was going to beat his ass for it. And I just sat there thinking, what is he talking about? Well, at least in WWE, we get motivation in much of these stupid promos. I don't understand what his motivation is. He's talking about Kim fucking Karen again?
Yes.
What does that have to do with troops?
He said somewhere in here that he was, what did he say? Something about how, as an Olympic medalist, he was a hero like the troops. So he made a fucking massive logic leap.
Wow.
But that was his intent.
So we got another interview with the blonde chick interviewing the beautiful people. Kong and Raisha were there as well. And no joke, they spent about 50% of the interview burying the interview girl. Now, I understand that the writers hate women. It is patently obvious. But seriously, why does everybody spend half the interview bitching about the interview girl? Is she the fucking world champion and I'm missing something here?
No.
Why is so much time spent burying the interview girl?
Because, Brian, the people who put the show together care only about amusing themselves. And what amuses them is someone saying mean things to an innocent blonde.
I don't understand. Okay, if you want to do that, fine. Can't you just do that in one promo and get it over with?
Well, why do it once when you can do it twice?
Oh, Jesus, God Christ.
So somewhere in here, they said you've heard of King Kong, meet Queen Kong, which I'm sure someone thought was very clever to take a female wrestler named Kong and put Queen in front of it. Oh, the wit. And then they were talking about things she liked to eat, and they were warning, they said, watch out, Gail, she likes to eat Chinese.
Chinese.
She's Korean, everybody. Gail Kim's Korean.
Yeah.
Vince Russo can't tell. She's just yellow.
All those,
I won't say it.
God, these people are retarded.
They're so dumb.
So then the ring announcer said the following is an 8-man no disqualification match. Yes, 2 8-mans on the show tonight. We had Beer Money and Team 3D against Christian and Rhino and LAX. I hated this for a number of reasons. I mean, if you just want to see a bunch of guys doing moves, then this was a great match. Okay, fine. Unfortunately, it was, as I've noted in weeks past, it was the little things. Johnny Devine ran in after the match to give Team 3D a stick to beat on the babyfaces. This was like just to annoy me.
Well, wasn't the match no DQ?
Yes.
Then couldn't he have run in before they got beat?
That's the point.
I see.
Johnny Devine, his gimmick is that nothing he does makes sense. He will run in during regular matches, and it's not a DQ. And then during no DQ matches, he won't run in until the match is over. That's just one thing. They did move after move after move after move. And in the end, somebody pinned somebody. Who cares? It doesn't matter. And then, as noted, Devine came out. And then Bubba brought the glass table in the ring, and they put Homicide through it. And judging from the close-ups, it was probably real glass. And Homicide had it all over his fucking face, which your eyeballs are in, for those of you unclear about human anatomy. And insane idiocy. Insane idiocy.
I can't think it was real glasses because, yes, he was cut up all over the place. He was cut up in his arm and his back and his shoulder, but I just...
They can't be this stupid?
They can't be this stupid, and people go through glass... People who go through glass most often die. So, I don't know, is there a safe level of glass they have? I'm not an expert on going through glass. Perhaps I'm wrong about all this. But it just seems impossible. I was going to mention earlier in the match... They've talked about putting Christian through the glass table. And Don West said, oh, yes, he suffered such gruesome injuries, such terrible injuries. He was out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a violent...
Christ.
Yeah.
I don't see worse shit than that in every football game. No. 3 weeks. Huh. Wow. So, yeah, just terrible. And then As noted, there was just...
There was a great line when Don... This was a selling point for the pay-per-view.
There was random just bodies flying over the place, out of control.
Impossible to keep track of.
As you noted, Bubba hit a superplex. You looked down, you looked up, and Bubba was getting beat up by somebody.
Yeah.
And you just had no idea what was happening. And then Don West announced, at the pay-per-view, it will be this times 10.
That's the worst selling point I've ever heard in my life.
80 random men running around doing shit.
10 times this action. I don't want 10 times this action.
I want half the action.
I would prefer 1/10 of the action, just to have it make sense. Then we had a Awesome Kong Salinas match. Again, I'm just going to tell you everybody what happened. Awesome Kong and Salinas. Beautiful people were there. Awesome Kong beat her quickly with the Awesome Bomb. The beautiful people mocked her. Said that on Sunday, Taylor, ODB, and Gale were in for the same. Apparently there's a 6-person match on Sunday. I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. So anyway, they commanded Kong to get her again. So Kong did the implant buster. So then Angelina says, Velvet, you know what to do next. And I thought, the bag!
And the fans thought the bag. They were chanting, get the bag, get the bag.
Yep. Instead, what'd she get? A chair.
And the fans booed.
Swerve!
The fans booed. They wanted the bag.
So she brought a chair into the ring, and they were going to kill her when ODB, Gale, and Taylor made the save. Somehow this turned into a Taylor versus Awesome Kong match. Awesome Kong set up for the Awesome Bomb, and then Abyss ran in. I presume that Abyss just has a crush on Kong, which I think would be a great angle. But Abyss and Kong had a stare down, and then Raisha sent Kong away and slapped Abyss, and I thought, did they forget that they already did this angle?
It was the exact same thing they did last week. And I really remember stuff. So I guess the fact that I remember
I don't think it was last week. I think it was a couple weeks ago.
Regardless, the fact that it made an implant in my memory of any kind is good news. But they did the exact same thing here again.
Instead, however, he went to grab a chair, and she ran for her life after momentarily being trapped in the ring.
She slapped him, and then time froze. And she was just there, just in the ring, just standing. And he turned and he looked at the chair, and she stood there. And he bent over and he grabbed the chair, and she stood there, and he turned back towards her, and she stood there, and he lifted the chair, and then she bailed.
And then there's more. A geek ran in, and so Abyss gave him the black hole slam. And Tenay was busy screaming about how this was a totally different Abyss, and I thought, in what way?
He's a fat guy in a mask who hits random people with his move.
He's a fat guy in a mask who was about to hit the girl with a chair until she ran away, and then he still gave this move to a helpless man.
An innocent helpless man.
Yeah, I thought his goal was to save the innocent.
No. He's still a monster Abyss who does random shit to random people.
I need to play a song.
So somewhere in here in Impact, they did a rough cut segment with Taylor Wilde, where they just had her and a bunch of other girls talking about her, and not really remarkable except for Roxy, who noted that there's a burden to being champion, and she didn't want it. She specifically said she did not want to be the women's champion.
Yeah.
She'd rather not be champion, thank you.
Oh, man. Oh, man. I just want to keep playing songs because I hate this program so much.
We're almost done.
It drains the life out of me.
When this show was over, I actually felt like I had been through a workout. I was tired.
All right. Let me look around here. Well, I'm going to let you talk for a while I look around. I just don't want to do this show anymore.
Just on strike because Impact sucks?
Impact sucks so badly that I just...
Week in and week out.
Talk about the...
So Booker T cut a promo.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
This was, of course, a Booker T promo, and so it was good stuff. All he really had to say is that he's going to hurt Joe at the pay-per-view. He's also going to hurt Joe in the gauntlet match with weapons tonight. And he was sure to remind Jeremy Borash that Sting would, in fact, be in his corner at Hard Justice. And then he shared champagne, and this time Jeremy Borash got some. So apparently by sticking close to Booker's side, he's gaining trust. He's now a confidant. Because before, you recall, Booker would not share the champagne. But now, Jeremy gets champagne. So, thumbs up for Jeremy Borash. This is followed immediately by a Samoa Joe promo. I don't want to shock any of you, but he yelled at us. He yelled and he was angry, and
I'm just glad he didn't start crying.
He did not cry.
Yeah.
There was no tears. He said he was going to get his belt back at Hard Justice. Just seconds after seeing the belt in Booker T's lap, And they never mentioned, you have Joe's belt there. No. They just trust you to know that Samoa Joe is champion and Booker T is carrying Joe's belt.
Yeah.
They want you to know this.
Why did they just give the belt to Booker for a month?
Don't know.
Unless he's going to win it again, which really sucks to be
That is a poor
Joe.
answer to the question.
And we had Gauntlet. Actually, I will give them that this was better than your usual Joe promo. That's saying nothing over the past couple of weeks.
Perhaps just me. Maybe I'm just biased. I think it was helped by the fact that Nash wasn't there and Joe had to carry the weight for himself. So he's usually playing the whining, screaming ninny to Kevin Nash's voice of reason.
Yeah, but the problem is he's still a complete idiot for just blindly assuming that Sting is responsible for all this with literally no evidence.
Well, there is that.
No evidence whatsoever. I mean, look at the dude, the anthrax scientist that killed himself, and it's this big deal. People are demanding the FBI put forth all of their evidence against this man, and it's all circumstantial. There's not even circumstantial evidence in this case. There is literally no evidence whatsoever, except a black bat has been involved. Like there is only one black bat on the earth.
And a bird.
And is possessed by...
There's only one black bat, only one crow, and only one copy of Sting's music. And he gives a very close eye on all of them.
Maybe, I don't know what the bird had to do with anything. We never even got a follow-up on the bird. That made me angry. I wanted more with the bird.
A bird update?
Yeah.
Maybe the bird's still flying around the impact zone.
The Gauntlet match. Or first we had the AJ promo about Angle. And he said he was still upset that Kurt accused him of fucking Karen, and he was appalled that Kurt compared himself to the troops, saying that those guys were the real heroes, and Kurt was just a guy who got lucky to win a gold medal. And if you actually know anything about the match where Kurt Angle won the gold medal, he was pretty lucky.
Yes, it turns out it was about 50-50.
I'm stunned they brought that up, but they did. So then we had the Gauntlet weapon match. I thought they'd scrap this after Nash walked out, but I was wrong. It was actually a Royal Rumble, but they called it a Gauntlet match because Russo loves the Royal Rumble, and we have to have one every 3 weeks. We had AJ and Kurt starting, and then the next two in the ring. This was one of those. This was like, remember when they had the random drawing?
Oh, yeah, and all the partners in it to be the guys, and each person's partner was the guy they were feuding with. So
this was a random draw for this Gauntlet match. The first two guys were AJ and Kurt, who happened to be feuding.
Right.
Then, instead of one man coming at a time, every 1 minute or whatever, they brought out two men. And the next two men happened to be Matt Morgan and Tomko, who are, in fact, feuding.
How'd that happen?
They never even got in the ring early. They brawled to the backstage area.
That amused me. The 2-minute countdown ran down. The two giants came out and immediately brawled to the back.
Yeah. And then the next two in just happened to be BG and Kip James. Who would have ever thought? They also brawled outside. Nobody actually got in the ring yet, except for AJ and Kurt. And then, of course, the final two were Booker T and Samoa Joe. We went to the commercial break, which was, in fact, the commercial break where Nash was supposed to be eliminated, and BG ended up eliminating himself there, getting eliminated. And more dudes got tossed out, blah, blah, blah. Finally came down to Joe, Booker T, and Tomko, who has since quit, I might add. And Booker got tossed. Booker T, everybody.
So Tomko was in there at the end.
The man who was challenging Joe, or vice versa, however you want to look at it, the pay-per-view, just got eliminated. So it was Joe and Tomko, and the only good thing I will say about this, and it's only me saying this because the announcers did not make one goddamn fucking mention of it, is before Tomko left the company,
Joe got his win back.
Joe finally got his win back.
What did it take, a year?
After all of those months. That stupid fucking deal where they had Tomko pin Joe because they were mad at Joe. He finally got his win back here, and nobody made mention of it. But anyway, he did get it back, everybody. So 1, 2, 3, Tomko's free is the moral of this little match right here. And Joe cut a promo afterwards saying that he was going to beat Booker, and then he was going to go after Sting. And then, of course, the lights went out, and Sting was shown in the rafters, and that was the end of that. And thumbs down.
And that was the go-home moment, was Booker T and, Samoa Joe and Sting pointing at each other.
Thumbs down.
Big thumbs down.
You know what I think about this show? Thumbs down.
Also thumbs down for Kurt Angle slicing his head open on a ladder.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes, you did.
Don't ask me how. Yeah, he got a ladder thrown into his face. Oh, I forgot to mention this was a weapons gauntlet match. I guess that's also important. It was a gauntlet match with weapons in it. Why? I don't know.
I just like every guy came down. Every guy came down with a weapon, and when it was BG and Kip, BG I think had a chair and Kip had a street sign, and they met outside the ring. They bonked weapons together, and the weapons fell to the earth, and they just started wrestling.
Yeah,
old school. Man, I wanted them to win at that point.
A Royal Rumble with weapons.
Because Brian, nobody wants to see a boring old straight wrestling match. Come on now.
I just don't get it.
This company.
I just don't understand TNA. I mean, I give up. I admit right now, I just don't get it.
I just had a great idea. Let's stop watching. I'm back on this campaign now. We must watch anything else.
We're going to watch the pay-per-view on Sunday.
We'll watch that, and then we'll be done with TNA forever.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. To the back! This was not the worst pay-per-view ever. If you can enjoy a TNA, let me put it this way. If you can watch a full 3-hour TNA pay-per-view and you do not suffer from burnout from having seen it all earlier in the show, then this was probably a fine show.
If you have a very, very short memory.
If you are able to ignore stupidity in matches and such, and just watch moves and things of that nature, then you probably enjoyed this pay-per-view. I'll just give you one example. The main event was a cage match with weapons. Now, obviously, just having a cage match was not enough for TNA. The metal chain link that you would cut your head open like slicing up a cabbage, that's not enough of a weapon. They had to put more gimmicks inside the ring. So, inside a steel cage with weapons, Joe got a rope break. If that sort of thing does not bother you, then I'm sure you love this show. If you wonder why a man would get in fact, it was 2 rope breaks during that match.
Back to back, yes.
At one point, Booker had him in a guillotine, and Joe got himself free by putting his foot on the ropes. And during a second moment, Booker had a pinfall, and Joe broke it up with his hand on the ropes. If a rope break in a cage match with weapons does not bother you, then this was a fine show. If little things like that drive you crazy, then probably didn't like this pay-per-view.
This is another TNA pay-per-view.
Yeah, going into this show, anyone who knows anything about wrestling, and by this I don't mean Vince Russo, because he clearly does not.
No.
Anybody who knows anything about wrestling would look at a pay-per-view with all of these weapons matches and say, there's probably not going to be heat for a cage match with weapons when you've had a bunch of weapons matches on the undercard. And sure enough, there was no heat for that main event.
No one cared.
Nobody cared about the main event at all. And this should not be surprising. But apparently to the people who write TNA, it's baffling.
It's either completely baffling or completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Perhaps they don't care about heat in their main event.
They either don't care or they don't get it. So anyway, let's run down this show here. It opened with Sting arriving in his street clothes, clutching a bat, and the blonde chick ran up and tried to harass him into giving an interview, and he just walked off, and
that was that.
That was that.
It was a non-promo. He said nothing. It was also followed by a promo hyping up the main event, and a hyped up Samoa Joe versus Booker T by saying there would be a confrontation between Samoa Joe and Sting. That was the point of this promo video.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
She opened up with a rap concert with Filthy and Grandmaster Kaz, and Ice-T was supposed to be involved, but he no-showed TNA.
He came to his senses.
Yeah.
Ice-T has far too much credit for this show.
And this was blatant false advertising to me.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All I know is there was a huge muscular guy dressed all in white with sunglasses and braids, and he was not rapping. He was walking around flexing and looking cool. And all I could think was, sign that guy immediately. Just let him do that act every once in a while.
We had Petey Williams versus Consequences Creed for the X title, which Petey Williams won with the Canadian Destroyer after interference from Sheikh Abdul Bashir. Now, last I checked, and I never know these things, but my assumption is that Petey Williams is still a heel, and my assumption is that the flag-wearing Consequences Creed is the babyface. However, during this match, Consequences Creed was utterly hated, and Petey Williams was over as a complete babyface. Now, if you actually run down the card here, the heels were cheered in the women's match, the heels were cheered in the beer money match, the heels were cheered in the Sanjay Dutt match, the heels were cheered in the Angle AJ match, although to a lesser degree, And the
main event.
And the heel was cheered in the main event. Now, normally, if this were WWE, for example, I would say, well, they had quite the heel crowd this evening. They loved all the heels. However, if you watch TNA television, as we do every week, the babyfaces are such morons. The babyfaces are complete idiots, and the heels are always smarter. They're always cooler. In the case of Petey Williams, the heels do neater moves. Mm-hmm. He does dives and Hurricane Ranas and a really cool finisher. And so it's not surprising to me. Not one single bit.
It's because
not in one moment in this did I go, why are they cheering this heel? Why are they booing this babyface? Not once did I ask that question. It was patently obvious throughout this evening.
No, they set it. Petey in particular, they set up that way. Throughout every show, you see, he's doing his cool move and posting with the crowd, and the crowd goes crazy, and so they all love him. And then it actually got worse once the match began because they were continually making consequences Creed look like a bumbling fool.
He was an idiot.
He would go for a dive, and Petey would sidestep him, or he'd charge, and Petey would trip him up, and he would get up and pose and say, ha-ha, look at this dork. And the crowd would say, you're right, that guy there is a dork, and they would cheer for Petey.
Yeah, no surprise. And Bashir interfered and ended up, as noted, Petey hit his move. Everybody cheered like crazy, and he won. And
I will say,
it was a good match. I gave it 3.25 stars.
It was a very good match, and the positive side of the crowd, it's dumb they cheered for Petey because TNA's stupid, but they really loved him. The crowd was so into this. There was a point where he put on a sharpshooter, and the crowd went crazy. And Creed was reaching for the ropes and reaching for the ropes, and Petey reached behind him and hooked his arm, and the crowd went ballistic for this.
On a scale of 1 to 10, as far as heat goes, this was about an 8.
Sure.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, the main event was about a 2.
Yes.
This is not a mystery. Once again, it's not a mystery why this happens.
It is, in fact, the opposite of how it's supposed to go.
So anyway, that was that. And like I said, I mean, if you just want to see a bunch of moves and guys having a wrestling match, and this was a 3.25 star match. If the little things annoy you, then they do.
And Bashir afterwards, he once again laid out Creed. He hit him with a chair shot to set up the Destroyer. So Don West noted it pisses you off.
Yes.
To see this kind of thing here, especially on pay-per-view. And then Bashir tried to cut a promo about how this is the All-American guy. Look how useless he is, and you're the American Dream, I'm the Middle Eastern Nightmare. None of it worked, you see, because the crowd hated Creed.
Yeah.
They thought he was the bad guy, so they were okay with seeing him get beat up.
Then we had Borash interviewing Joe. This was better than your average Joe match because while he screamed, he did not cry. Unfortunately, he finished up by saying that he was going to go out tonight and show Booker T that he was not Actually, no. He said, I'm going to show Booker T that this wannabe indie worker is the toughest guy around. I really said that, everybody.
Those were his exact words.
Wannabe indie worker.
That's how he described himself. There's also a point here where Kevin Nash was there, and he said, Look, Joe, you had your hands full with Booker T at the last pay-per-view. I could have sworn that Samoa Joe was beating Booker T so badly, pushing his life to the brink, that a man had to come in and lay him out with a bat.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe had his hands full with Booker T.
No.
I think Joe had a piece of cake with Booker T.
This is a good example of, in TNA, they expect you to pay immensely close attention because so much stuff goes on. Yet at the same time, apparently they don't want you to pay any attention at all because they just change the stories in midstream.
It is quite a paradox.
So then we had ODB and Gail Kim and Taylor Wilde against the beautiful people in Awesome Kong in a 6-person.
This was set up by the greatest video of all time where they compared it to a fairy tale, and all I have is the line, they describe the beautiful people as 2 evil stepsisters who know how to bring it.
Yes. Now, this was another example of, I gave it 2.5 stars. I've seen much, much better women's matches in TNA. And again, they cheered the heels. And if you're wondering why, well, the Awesome Kong got in the ring and destroyed all the babyfaces one by one. And then all the babyfaces tried to beat her up 3-on-1, and she vanquished them 1-on-3. And this was when the people really started cheering Kong. And I'm like, again, is this a mystery? She has overcome all the odds.
They're so dumb.
1-on-3 odds.
The best part was she was beating up ODB, so Taylor and Gale both jumped in, and Mike Tenay dubbed this flagrant violation of the rules as good strategy.
Yeah. And then when Raisha got ejected for interfering, this was not fair. Or this was unfair interference, and she got ejected. So anyway, the best spot also was when ODB came in and blew alcohol into Kong's face, and Kong responded by no-selling it and avalanching her. And, of course, everybody cheered.
Yeah. She whipped her into her own corner. The beautiful people grabbed her arms apart. Kong squished her with this avalanche. It looked awesome. And I thought, okay, they've got the heat. Now they got that established. And ODB tagged out like a minute later.
Yeah. And, of course, she tagged out, and nobody cheered the first hot tag. And then there was a second hot tag, and nobody cheered that one either. And then it broke down into a 6-away. There were literally bodies everywhere. And then Angelina ended up in the ring, and Taylor pinned her with a forward cradle, which apparently is her finisher, because that's what she pins everybody with.
Yes, and we need to break down that second hot tag even more, because it's even dumber than that. So ODB makes her lukewarm tag to Gail. Gail comes in, gets immediately cut off. Angelina chokes Gail with her own hair. Now think about this. She is choking. Rule violation number 1, and pulling the hair. Rule violation number 2. Crowd cheers all this. Because why not? They're so into this. And so Angelina gets in a shoving match with Tracy Brooks, who is the referee for no reason. And while this shoving match with the ref is going on, Gail, while neither one of them is paying attention, makes an elaborate dive to tag in Taylor. No one cared about that hot tag, and you won. No one. And so then, as noted, it was a complete mess with bodies flying throughout, random stuff going on with heels winning over here and baby faces winning over here and no one caring, and then Taylor got the win. So was it a bad match? No, not at all. Was it any good? Not particularly. Did you say 2.5?
2.5.
That sounds about right.
And then we had Team 3D and the Blonde looking for Sting. And once they got to the rafters, Ray acted like he was afraid of heights. I don't know what the point of this was, but it was not really any good.
There was a joke here about Devon's penis. That was funny, but nothing else was.
And then what's funny about this show and Impact is there were like 3 weapons matches. There was a last man standing match. There were all sorts of gimmicks on this pay-per-view. And if you watched Impact on Thursday, you heard Bubba Ray Dudley explaining that nobody wants to see normal matches.
That's right.
And aside from AJ and Angle, who are just fucking awesome, what was the best damn match on this show?
The tag team match?
LAX and Beer Money with no gimmicks. They had a straight wrestling match, a tag team match. It was fucking awesome. It was 3.5 stars. The place was going nuts for it, and there were no gimmicks. It was unbelievably great.
Not only were there no gimmicks here, but if you recall, these two teams met last month in a fans have straps match.
Yeah.
That's how TNA does things, folks.
They went from a stiff match to a straight match.
And it got better.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Now, I should note that there was some goofiness here. If you'll recall, as an Impact viewer, Christian got put through a glass table and was put out of action for 3 whole weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks, everybody.
A death sentence.
Of course, later in the show, they downgraded it to 2 weeks. They're actually, as the weeks go by, it's less and less impressive.
Isn't that the opposite of how, old stories are supposed to go?
Sure.
Like Hulk Hogan, when he talks about slamming Andre the Giant, he does not describe Andre as 5'10" and 180.
Andre is not getting smaller over the years.
Andre is 14 feet tall and 2,000 pounds.
Yeah. As the weeks go by, Christian's 3 weeks is now 2 weeks. And next week it'll probably be 1 week, and then it won't even happen at all. But anyway, he was out, we'll just say, for 3 weeks, going through this glass table. Homicide got put through a glass table on Thursday, and he was back tonight, and the extent of his injuries, he had a Band-Aid over his eye. A Band-Aid!
When we say he had a Band-Aid, I know he had a Band-Aid because Mike Tenay said, you can see the Band-Aid on his face.
Yeah, it gets better. As Homicide came out with nothing but a Band-Aid 3 days after going through this table, they explained that Beer Money had tried to end his career. End his career! They did a poor job.
Way short.
Now, again, if you can ignore all of that, this match ruled.
Yes, it did.
And it ruled because, well, it was old school pro wrestling. They worked over Homicide's Band-Aid covered eye, and he finally got the hot tag. Hernandez was the star of this match, except for Beer Money, who just are the greatest wrestlers in the world. And they broke down into a bunch of stuff. We did have some wackiness at the end. Jackie gave Hernandez a low blow. Salinas went after her. Hector broke it up. The cameras missed half of this. Homicide went for the Gringo killer, and then Rude hit him in the eye with a beer bottle, and Storm got the pin. Probably would have been more effective if there weren't people hitting each other with objects throughout the night, but I'm not going to complain. It made sense. They went after the bad eye, even though it was the wrong eye. We'll just ignore that as well. But I still gave this 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
So for those of you that think I nitpick TNA, I could nitpick 100 things about this match, but I still thought 3.5 stars, and aside from Angle and AJ, best match on the show.
This was I actually like this better than Angle and AJ. It didn't go as long, but anyway, we'll get to that later. This was a very fun match. It was very old school. You had the heel tag team, And part of being a heel tag team and getting the fans to boo you is being worse wrestlers than your opponents.
Yeah.
Unlike, for example, P.D. Williams, and he's just one guy I can note, who does a million cool moves and always looks better than the guy he's working with. No, Beer Money gets their ass kicked at first. They made Hernandez in particular look like, as one fan noted, a god, as he had in his sign, and they made Homicide look like the toughest motherfucker in the world who survived going through the glass table to kick their asses. Then they eventually conspired 2-on-1 to get the heat on Homicide. They worked him over in a greatly entertaining manner. They did their double suplex Beer Money spot, and it's getting more and more elaborate, and that makes it awesome.
And the people cheer him.
Well, okay, point. It entertains me, so I'll forgive them.
Yeah.
But it's still cool. And then Hernandez ran wild, and they did the scariest spot ever, wherein after the LAX was running wild, they tossed Beer Money from the ring, and then LAX seemed to be having a dispute. And I thought, Jesus Christ, they're going to break up this tag team. These fools. And then they came to an agreement, and then Hernandez picked up Homicide and gave him the border toss over the post to Beer Money onto the floor. This was so fucking scary.
And talk about either balls or outright stupidity to agree to do a move like that where you can't even see where you're going. And you go over the post to the floor. You have to completely trust those two geeks on the floor.
And the guy throwing you to get you over the post.
Yep.
He literally put his life into their hands, because this is not like suplex where you go down and go up. No, this move is about 99% all the guy throwing you. He had to hurl Homicide through the air over the post and onto the two men, and the two men had to catch him. Homicide's life was 0% in his own hands, and thankfully he lived.
I hope this has not become a regular spot.
No.
It was pretty damn cool tonight.
But yes, and as usual, there's the usual TNA overbooked ending. But by the end, I still love this match, and it was my favorite one on the show.
Nash met with Sting, and they were talking about something in vague terms. I have no idea what's going on, and quite frankly, I didn't care.
I had no idea either. All I know is Sting in the segment appeared to be 6'9". He was almost as tall as Nash.
Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt had a black tie, brawl, and chain match. The last time we saw Lethal, he had broken up with Val and, I guess, sent her on her merry way. And, of course, that meant that they came down together here, and she was wearing the wedding ring again. So, apparently I missed an entire Impact here somewhere, or maybe several of them. So, it was a combo chain match, tuxedo match. It was a chain match where you had to strip your opponent or pin him. And, of course, at the very beginning of the match, as the ref was putting the chain on Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, the babyface, took his end and tied it to the ropes and then began beating on the helpless heel. Always a great spot. So, of course,
Renee also noted, you've got to like this. And no, I don't have to. I think it makes Jay Lethal a dick.
Val acted like she couldn't handle the violence and stormed off, which begs the question, why would anyone want to marry this girl? And they found, apparently Lethal's family was in the crowd, and they showed his mom weeping, but that was all they did with him. And we got boring chants near the end. We got Fire Russo chants. And Lethal finally yanked him off the top rope, hit a lethal combination, hit a flying elbow, got the pin, no post-match angle. He just won, and then it was to the back.
He just won, and I like the fact that they were wearing tuxedos with wrestling shoes.
Yeah.
And if you say, well, Vince, it's hard to do...
I actually tried that for Cauliflower Alley, but they smelled too bad.
If you say, well, Vince, it's hard to do athletic things in patent leather shoes. You know what else is hard to do athletic things in? Tuxedos.
Yeah.
So if you're going to wear a tuxedo, go all out and get nice shoes. And then by the end, they try to tear the tuxedo off again. Hard to tear a tuxedo off when you take the sleeve off and it just goes down his arm, up the chain. And so there's a whole jacket just hanging off the thing. And then by the end, it ended with just a pinfall. Yeah. So the tuxedo served absolutely no purpose in this match other than to make the whole thing dumb.
Except to add a stip.
And a really dumb stip. I mean, virtually all stip matches make matches worse anyway, but this one ruined the match. There was no chance of Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt to have a good match here.
Imagine Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal having a 1.5-star match. This was it! They found a way. Then we had Booker T and Sharmell doing an interview, and it was awesome because Booker T is the greatest man in the world.
He really likes his champagne, it turns out.
We had Team 3D against Rhino and Christian in a Jersey street fight. This was just a hardcore match. It was the usual excuse to not do a lot for the Dudleys. They hit each other with stuff. They did some spots with stuff. And it did end up turning around when they brought a drum into the ring with a stop sign on it.
This is the greatest thing I ever saw in my life.
And Devon rushed towards Christian And to save himself, Christian merely turned the drum around so that Devon saw the stop sign, and he proceeded to stop.
That made me so happy.
These are spots that made me love pro wrestling.
Yes, they do that sign in the ring. In hindsight, they were blatantly setting it up, but I thought, I know what they should do here. I thought I was smart. And then they actually did it exactly as it should have been done.
Yes.
In fact, it was better because I was thinking Rhino should go for the Goran stop. That would have been done because Rhino, you see, is a babyface.
We think. We don't know.
Well, I'm under the impression he's supposed to be a babyface. But yes, Devon charging and stopping when you see the stop sign, that was money. That was money.
So it picked up from here, and then they had a ladder and a table in the ring, and Christian gave Bubba a splash from 2 rungs from the top, and then Rhino gored him into a table for the pin. The table did not break, so people booed, and that was the finish.
Yeah.
Sucks to be them.
Things don't work out sometimes. They did virtually every weapon spot here. My personal favorite one was very early on. Bubba Ray Dudley picked up a plastic sign, hit Christian in the shoulder with it, and hit him with the lightest, most professional tap you could possibly do. And part of me loved it because that's, it's fake. It's supposed to be fake. And part of me was like, you could have actually decked him with that, and I would have been okay, too.
So then we got one of those little nitpicky things about TNA that I hate. Johnny Devine. Whenever there's a straight match, Johnny Devine runs in the middle of the match, right in front of the ref, and it's not a DQ. Yet whenever there's, for example, a street fight, Johnny Devine does not come out until after the match is over. A no DQ match, why don't you just run in, buddy? So anyway, he ran in after the match, after the no DQ match, and then Abyss made the save. So apparently we'll get a 6-man next month or something. So it was a 3 1/4 star match. It was fun, but, it was
an old school ECW match in front of an old school ECW crowd, so it worked.
And there were ECW chants on this show in
2008.
What match was that we had ECW?
This one.
Was it?
Yeah, because the Dudleys were there.
That's right, it was. Then we had AJ doing an interview, and he said that he talked to Sting and everything was great. And I guess we're supposed to be surprised that Sting ended up turning on AJ. But since Vince Russo was the booker, all of his swerves are obvious a mile away. And he still hasn't figured out how obvious they are, I guess. So anyway, that's exactly what happened later. But anyway, Angle and AJ, last man standing. They had a really great match. These two guys are just awesome, as everybody knows by now. And it was actually a Texas death match because you had to get a pinfall first. They brawled all over the place, suplex on the ramp. Angle gave AJ a back suplex off the ramp to the cement, but it wasn't quite as scary as it sounds because he did a flip and land on his feet. And then Angle did a running flip dive off the stage to the cement, and AJ caught him, which was rather valiant since Angle never catches AJ on any of his dives, and AJ almost always kills himself.
Well, he either never catches him or he catches him only with his head and neck, so both guys die.
Yeah. So then we had some wackiness, like an ankle lock in a last man standing match. I have no idea. Unless you want to break both ankles, I guess.
I asked the question, why don't you just immediately tap out and then just stand back up?
And that's what happened later. So that did make sense. So AJ went up top. Angle gave him a super German. That was a pinfall. AJ made it up, so Angle gave him an Olympic slam for a pin. AJ made it up, and Angle went for another one, but AJ hit a Styles Clash for a pin. And finish was Angle teasing an overhead belly-to-belly off the top, but AJ did a super DDT, which Angle sold like his neck was broken, convulsing and such. So AJ won, and then as they were bringing out, here's where it gets good, everybody. They have this match. I give it 3 3/4 stars. They bring out the refs and the backboard to cart Angle to the back with his broken neck. And AJ, the babyface, runs down, tips over the stretcher, and gives Angle a brain buster. Did AJ turn heel? I have no idea.
That's what it looked like to me.
I would assume so, but I don't think he did. The announcers were talking about how this was personal, and I guess they were okaying this act. So then as AJ was leaving, the lights went out, and Sting appeared and gave AJ a Scorpion Death Drop. And, of course, Don and Tenay were completely perplexed. What message is he sending, Don asked. Why would he do this? Why are all of these attacks unprovoked?
Unprovoked was their exact word. As if AJ and Joe last month were minding their own business, not trying to kill helpless men.
They were literally trying to kill their opponents, and Sting saved men who were about to die. And the announcers can't figure out why anybody would ever do this.
And Nash walled out and said, why did you do that? And Sting said something and moved backstage. So Just retarded
And
TNA.
then it gets better. In a classic TNA moment, they showed a replay of the DDT off the top, and they decided to show us a different angle. And the different angle showed Angle's head not even coming close to the mat.
Oh.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great TNA.
The angle they had originally looked like he'd been killed. So they made sure to show us another angle where it didn't look like he got hurt at all.
They showed a graphic on the screen saying, it's fake. He's okay. The match itself, it was really good. I had two problems with it. One, it just went forever. And they did a million near falls. And why would you do a near fall when there's a 10 count afterwards anyway? Why kick out at 2.9? Just stay down, take a couple of deep breaths, and then stand back up. But they did a billion near falls first before they had. Then guys finally started getting pinned, and then getting up at 9. It was just dragged the whole thing out for no reason. And part of the reason it seems so long is because they did a bunch of awesome stuff early. They were brawling on the floor. They did the suplex off the ramp and the dive off the ramp we noted earlier. AJ took a Northern Lights suplex into the guardrail and then landed on his head in the cement as they brawled in the crowd. And they did all this, and then they got in the ring for a bunch of chin locks.
Yeah. They did. They did a bunch of stuff, and then they got in the ring and did a chin lock, and that's right when they lost the crowd.
Like if you took the middle portion of this match and the beginning and swapped them, this match would have ruled.
Yeah.
As it was good.
And then we had the main event. After all of the chairs and tables and ladders and stop signs and construction drums and suplexes on the ramp and dives off the ramp to the cement, we got Samoa Joe against Booker T in a cage match with weapons. And, of course, the wrestlers patiently waited in the cage while they did ring intros.
As they were prepared to kill each other, they stood there politely, waiting for their names to be announced by the small man in the suit. I also like the sign proclaiming, Joe doesn't afraid of anything. Wrestling fans, everyone.
So Joe just beat the hell out of him forever and hit him with stuff.
I also Don West noted that Samoa Joe was the champion, but Booker T was wearing the belt, and he noted this may be confusing to new fans. Really?
No shit.
I hadn't thought of that.
So
it's confusing to us.
They had this match. Joe hit him with a lot of weapons, and then Booker hit him with a lot of weapons, and then they did the rope breaks, and that was not surprisingly when they lost the crowd.
It didn't. Yeah, they were stupid enough to do rope breaks in the cage match anyway. But Samoa Joe, who again we think is supposed to be the babyface, he was the one who had to resort to rope breaks to break submissions and get out of pinfalls.
Yeah.
He had to get by on technicalities rather than outmaneuver his foe.
Joe made his comeback. Nobody cared. Crowd was burned out. Set up a muscle buster on chairs, but Booker gave him the Uranage, and everybody cheered. And then all of a sudden Booker hit the axe kick. The lights went out, and when they came back on, Joe had a guitar, and he hit Booker with it and got the pin. Now, never mind the fact that they hit each other with 100 different weapons, and why a wood guitar is any more dangerous than all these metal things they hit each other with, I got no earthly idea, including chair shots. So, anyway, he was pinned, and then TNA said the guitar could only mean one thing, and Don West said, does this mean that he's back? And then the show went off the air without them saying who this was, not that it's much of a mystery, and so it appears...
It's Jesus, clearly. But do the passion in Don West voice, it can only be the return of Christ.
If you go back to 1998, which we always do in looking at TNA, or actually closer to about 2000, very clearly this is where this is going. Sting is apparently now a heel, and he will be backing the young guys, or the old guys, I'm sorry, and the Millionaires Club. Mm-hmm. And then Jeff Jarrett will valiantly be fighting for the youngsters, and we'll have the Millionaire Club versus the New Blood. And I guess...
Because if you're going to recreate a feud, it should be from the last days of a once proud company.
Yeah, and I guess Joe is still a babyface, even though he cheated to beat Booker T, who had the match won.
And
I don't know, everybody.
You're just giving up, haven't you? The best part was, it literally went like this. Joe kind of hits the axe kick. His leg went up right when the lights went out. And the lights went out. Now, you take any crowd, you have lights will go out, the crowd will cheer. It's a human reaction. They all go, woo, lights out, darkness, yay. Not here, not in New Jersey, where they had seen everything and were bored and wanted to go home. So Booker T's leg goes up. Lights go out. 4 or 5 seconds pass. Lights come up. Joe hits a guitar shot. Joe gets the win. Joe takes his belt and goes home. They cut to the crowd. The crowd looks so underwhelmed.
Yeah.
The crowd is sitting there looking they all have a weird kind of smile that basically reads, "You've got to be fucking kidding me."
Jeff Jarrett interfered. He's not even around.
No. And then
the spirit of Jeff Jarrett fucked this match up.
And then the show immediately ended. Between the lights coming back up and the show going off the air was less than a minute.
Oh, yeah.
It was okay. It wasn't not even to the back. It was to the next program. It was.
Well, remember when I said that they set up for the Muscle Buster on the chairs?
You said
that was at 10:53 p.m.
It was supposed to end 4 minutes late.
They usually go off the air at 43 after, so they were 10 minutes over. That's the time. That's the time management that they demonstrated on this show.
Also, this just occurred to me. Sting flew to New Jersey just to give AJ Styles a DDT.
And he didn't know he'd have to.
Apparently he's psychic. So yes, the
I don't know.
The video package hyping up the Joe Sting confrontation was lying to you because it never happened and it played no impact to the match. All that mattered was Joe defeated his superior foe due to vile chicanery.
When you can't understand anything and you just give up trying to figure it out, that's when people don't care about anybody in your company.
This is why I used to drink when watching Impact. I need to start that again. I need to just get ripped.
This show, everybody.
Thursday, everyone, I'm going to get drunk when we watch Impact. I've just decided.
All right, that's great. To the back! All right, I want to talk about Impact first because it's fresh in my mind. And, not a big fan of Impact.
No,
It's not my favorite show.
No. Better than it has been in recent weeks, but still really bad.
I think this show drives me crazy because, number one, there's so much confusing stuff on there. There's so much stuff that would be easily remedied with just a little bit of thinking. And then there's stuff that, like, it's so goddamn fucking obvious, and the people on the show are confused. For example, it's really a mystery where the guitar came from at the pay-per-view. I say no. I saw that guitar and I immediately thought, Jeff Jarrett's coming back.
Well, and the reason you thought that is because that's Jeff Jarrett's guitar. Jeff Jarrett used a guitar for 5 years in the show and it looked exactly like that one.
This would be like if, for example, a Rey Mysterio mask made a mysterious appearance on Raw. And Jim Ross was like, what could this mean? He would never say that. In a million years, he would never say that. But it gets better. At the end of the show, the guitar appeared again. And this time, in preparation for the appearance of the guitar, they played Jeff Jarrett's music.
Yes.
Now, this would be like on Raw. This would be like if Rey Mysterio's mask made a surprise appearance, accompanied by Rey Mysterio's music. And Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler says, what could this mean? Because, in fact, after Jeff Jarrett's music played and Jeff Jarrett's guitar made an appearance, Mike Tenay screamed, and I quote, the mystery of the guitar continues.
He actually screamed that on 2 separate occasions.
The mystery of the guitar continues.
Go up to Barnes & Noble sometime and ask, do you have the mystery of the guitar? I think it's by Agatha Christie. I'm not sure.
The mystery of the guitar continues. It's like, I guess, a book about eating fruits and vegetables, and it's called The Mystery of Health, or something of that nature.
It's a mystery, yes.
What could this guitar and the accompanying Jeff Jarrett music possibly mean?
It's a sign of something.
In fact, the show was titled TNA's Unsolved Mysteries. That's what it was called. TNA's Unsolved Mysteries.
All of which are solved now.
No, apparently not. Kevin Nash and Joe showed up. They're still friends. And the blonde wanted to know who gave him the guitar.
She should have asked him why he needed a guitar in a cage filled with weapons.
I guess this could all be a swerve. And, like, it's not obviously Jeff Jarrett because everyone's expecting the bat to be Sting's bat.
In a court of law, you cannot prove Jeff Jarrett has been in these buildings.
That's true.
That's true. It should be a sign someone wants you to think Jeff Jarrett's coming back.
Well, let's look at it this way. There is no proof that Jeff Jarrett is swinging this guitar, or that he's even providing this guitar. Perhaps the heels have just made up a bunch of guitars and they want to think Jeff Jarrett's coming back. Okay, fine. Because obviously there's no proof that Sting has been hitting people with bats.
Correct.
However, The black bat appeared, and everybody automatically assumed it was Sting.
Yes.
We now have a guitar and music, and nobody has even said the words Jeff Jarrett. Nobody can figure this out.
Well, they've only said the words he.
He. Who?
God.
Apparently. So, Nash said Joe felt things were going to get interesting, but he only knew the half of it. You know what that means.
At which point, the blonde pestered after him saying, Kevin, I need answers. And I had two thoughts.
Is she paid by the answers?
One of which was, God, I hate this woman. And two was, why? Why do you need answers? I have the same questions you do. I don't need the answers. I don't care.
Rhino and Christian faced the Rock and Raves. Match was kind of sloppy, especially the heat when Rave just pulled Rhino and Rhino fell down and was incapacitated. And Christian made the big comeback, ran wild, set up Rave for the unprettier. Lance Rock broke it up. This match was fun, and this is nitpicky, but it's true. Sometimes guys just need to make a comeback and win. Did we really need the Rock and Raves cutting off the comeback of Christian and Rhino? The answer is no, we didn't.
It would have been fine without it.
But they did it anyway because everybody's got to be on the same level. And it was actually during this match and during the Taylor Wilde match with Christy fucking Hemme.
Yes.
That I was like, you wonder why you have no stars. Christian and Rhino were portrayed on this show as the equals of the Rock and Raves.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, Kurt Angle going toe-to-toe with Barry Horowitz in 2000. Where would that have positioned Kurt Angle?
As the same level as Barry Horowitz?
It would not have brought Barry Horowitz up to the level of the Olympic champion.
No.
So, anyway, now we got 4 geeks instead of 2 stars and 2 geeks. And it was a fun match.
I was just happy that there was no bullshit. There was no 8,000 run-ins. There was no ref bump. There was no hidden weapon. There was just a wrestling match. No commercial in the middle. Had a finish. Fine. That's all I ask for from TNA these days. And I so rarely get that. So this, on the pass-fail system, this gets a thumbs up.
Borash was backstage with Angle, who had his gold medal with him. Yes, he's already back on TV.
You'll recall that
neck was broken on Sunday.
Into the pay-per-view, they were concerned with his life.
Yeah.
His life. And
now he's back doing comedy.
And here, it was they asked him how his neck was. His exact words were, it's sore and stiff.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? Kurt's, he's pushing 40, isn't he?
He's 40 right now.
He's 40 right now. You get to be that age, you know how you get a sore, stiff neck?
Wake up.
Yeah. Especially him. His neck is sore and stiff every day. So, dumb.
He cut a goofy promo about how he's an Olympic champion and a last man standing match had nothing to do with wrestling and AJ cheated to win and tried to break his neck. Thank God Sting showed up, he said. Otherwise, AJ might have killed him. And he said tonight he got to book the match, so it's going to be a good old-fashioned gold medal challenge. You know, back in the day. Ask your grandpa about this one. I should have asked Granny, in fact. He said no ropes, 3-minute periods, every point counted. And the winner of the match got the gold medal. Tonight, free. Indeed.
That's all he said. I assumed he just meant amateur rules. Turns out I was wrong about that, because we'll get to that later. But he also said that when he won the gold medal in 1996, he became a hero to everyone except his own company, TNA. And I thought perhaps that's because they were not around for 6 more years.
Nitpicking.
I guess I am.
Then they interviewed AJ, who I believe referred to Sting as Stink.
I don't know if it's a weird Georgia thing, but every word that ended in NG, he was pronouncing the G.
Stink.
Stink, you're wrong.
He said that Stink was wrong.
No, he said wrong. It's early to be giggling like this. I'm on the first page, dude. You got 3 more pages to go. Stink? Is Stink that funny?
No, but Stink is wrong.
That's what he said. Don't blame me.
I hate this show. I just have lost it. I've lost it.
Dude, we're on the first page. We have 3 more pages to go.
This show's so fucking stupid. Stink was wrong is funny. But it's also funny because...
I'm sweating. I'm laughing so hard I'm sweating.
It is fucking hot in here. Stink was wrong. And why was he wrong? Because he saved Kurt Angle's life when AJ was trying to kill it.
Yeah.
That is why Stink was wrong.
It was the wrong thing to do.
Oh, God damn it.
So then we had a Matt Morgan promo. Those of you taking notes at home will realize this is the third promo in a row.
When he showed up, I was like, can I just get some bad wrestling, please?
Someone please just hit somebody. So what was the vital question they had from Matt Morgan? What was the key piece of info? What was the probing insight we were looking to gain? Lauren turned to him and asked, Matt, what are your goals?
Yes.
So he said his goal was to fulfill his potential, to main event a pay-per-view, and to win the world title. Wow. I feel better now.
Yeah, then he had a match with Johnny Devine, who got heat on Matt Morgan. That's the first problem. And it
didn't last long.
It gets better. They didn't mention American Gladiators, which was good. So he won, and then Team 3D ran in and attacked Matt Morgan.
Why do they do that?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
They're friends with Johnny Devine.
Okay, that makes sort of sense. All right, go ahead.
Okay, but still, the point is, Team 3D attacked Matt Morgan, the giant 7-foot monster that's getting the Goldberg push. And did Matt Morgan make his own comeback and clear the ring?
No.
No, he had to be saved by Abyss.
Right.
And I should note that they noted that Abyss only saved people when the odds were, and I quote, insurmountable.
So Matt Morgan cannot fight off the two fat guys.
There was no way that Matt Morgan was going to beat up these two fat men. So Abyss had to come down and make the save. Then they shook hands, Abyss and Morgan, and apparently they're going to be a team or join forces. So
maybe they're just pals.
He's no longer a man on his own.
No, he's got a friend, the crazy guy in the pajamas.
The easiest thing in the world is booking a Goldberg. You get a giant man with muscles, and he beats everyone up without selling.
Right.
What could possibly be easier? Even WCW did this right.
Yeah.
It will never not amaze me that they didn't fuck him up until the very end. They got all the way, well, they made it quite a ways before they fucked him up. These guys can't even figure out how to do Goldberg with Matt fucking Morgan. He gets beat up by two fat guys and can't make his own comeback.
And Johnny Devine.
Another fat guy runs in to save him, and then they shake hands and they're buddies.
And Morgan says, thank you for saving me.
He should have given
You
Abyss,
really pulled my ass out of the fire there.
He should have given Abyss his fucking finisher, laid him out.
And then hunted down Team 3D.
Then they could have another match next week and he beat him again.
Yeah.
This is not hard.
Apparently it is.
Win over and over. Never sell. Easy.
Never need help.
Jesus Christ. Then we had Karen's angle with the beautiful people.
This was actually plug. They teased this before the commercial break, and the tease, I'm not making this up, they showed Karen Angle in a whiny voice saying, what are you here whining about?
Yeah.
And we were supposed to stay tuned.
I love the beautiful people, but this was awful. Now, there have now been 3 Karen's Angle segments, I believe. Kaz, the Kurt Angle lookalike, and these chicks.
Or because Cass was on twice.
They've all been horrible.
Yes.
What is the recurring theme?
Well, let's see. Karen.
That would be correct. So they said they had a new person to primp them. It was Billy Gunn, who was gone gay. He insulted Karen, and so she canceled the entire segment. Wretched programming. Wretched.
I just think it's funny that after all these years, Billy Gunn's gay.
Yeah.
Well, again, I guess he was gay when he was with Chuck.
Sure.
But he's a hairdresser now.
They showed the Korean girl in the front row that the beautiful people think is Chinese, and they said it was Gail's sister, Katie Kim. Katie Kim! Then the blonde interviewed Jay Lethal, who was crying his eyes out. Crying, everybody. Another crying babyface. Now, I could have sworn that at the pay-per-view, he not only beat up Sanjay Dutt, but he pinned him with his move clean in the middle.
Right.
Now he's crying.
In front of his hometown, by the way.
Yeah.
And this win was so big that he was crying and screaming and railing and shaking his head against the fence. And all I could think was, you are so not macho right now.
He said
there's nothing macho about you.
Had not spoken to him since the pay-per-view, and she had to choose between the two of them. And I guess in some sense this is believable because this young man is like 21. But anybody who's any older than that, why the fuck would you ever want to continue the relationship with this woman? Someone please answer that question for me.
It may make him believable. It does not make him likable. You think, good, I'd have dumped you too.
So, yeah, he's sad. And then he had a match with the Iraqi guy, and we almost got all the way to the heat before they actually said what his name was. I heard the Middle Eastern Nightmare, and I heard the Sheik twice. And finally, Don got out Abdul Bashir. So way to go, Don. Match was fine. Bashir won with the WMD, which is his finish. Oh, the finish was also great.
No, the finish was not fine.
The Sheik was in the corner getting stomped on by Lethal, and the ref kept telling him to back off, and he kept stomping, and the ref kept saying back off. And finally, the ref yanked him out of the way, which gave Bashir the ability to take a spike out of his boot and jab Lethal and then pin him. So the crying babyface, who's got a crush on the stupidest girl in the world, his own idiocy cost him the match. Way to go. Mm-hmm. And then Bashir left, and Lethal got hit with the 450 from Sanjay.
And then
the feud must continue.
Immediately to the back.
I don't know why this feud must continue after it was just completely finished off at the pay-per-view. They're going to go from a stip match to a straight match next?
They did that for the tag teams.
Awesome. So, there you go.
To the back.
To the back. And let me tell you how fucking stupid TNA is. Booker T was backstage in his robe, as awesome as ever, and they are so goddamn stupid that apparently they forgot that Joe had given Booker his locker room leading up to that match. Mm-hmm. Because Booker T was still there.
He's still in Joe's room redecorated.
He's still in the best locker room in the company after Joe beat him and took his title back. So, anyway, he said he was going to go out and actions would speak louder than words, and I believe that's the last time we saw him on this show.
Yes. He also implied that he knew it was Jarrett.
I see.
He never said the name Jeff or Jarrett, but he called the perpetrator a hick and a redneck.
We got exclusive post-pay-per-view footage of Nash talking to Sting after the show. Sting said he was not confused, and then he said, and I quote, "My biological time clock is ticking really fast, Kevin. You should check yours. It's now or never." So, apparently they're thinking of fucking and having a child.
They want to get pregnant.
That's all I could figure out from this strange meeting.
That's what biological clock you usually think about when you hear that phrase, but even if it's not about that, he basically said, "We are two old men."
Yeah.
And they hobbled off.
Now or never. So Sting is undergoing menopause, which may in fact be the headline of this week's issue, if there's no other big news at SummerSlam.
That would be newsworthy.
Team 3D against Joe and Nash. Joe, of course, did most of the work early, and then...
It was so hysterical. Nash started on the apron, and Don West took time to observe that he was letting Joe start this one out.
Thanks, Don.
Holy crap!
Nash, of course, on Nash, working over his leg. Then he hit a boot, made the hot tag. And then he got in and hit another boot, and then got out. And then went after Bubba outside, and Joe hit Devon with the coquina clutch for the submission. And then for no logical reason whatsoever, Joe got a chair, brought it to the ring, and started beating the hell out of Devon. And the announcer started going, Joe's temper is his Achilles heel. Which, of course, raises the question, why is this man so angry?
What made him angry? He choked Devon Dudley into unconsciousness. This pissed him off.
It made him mad, apparently.
Apparently he wanted Devon to keep fighting.
Or he should have just gone unconscious. I don't know. So he got really pissed off, and the ref, this is even better. The ref reversed the decision. Somebody go back through the last 25 impacts, or just 10.
Last week.
Or really just tonight, and look at how much after the match bullshit we get on every show. And this was cause for a disqualification.
What a terrible
This
show.
is why I hate this company.
Stupid shit.
It's because, like...
It doesn't make sense.
If you didn't have an angle and a run-in, why was Bashir not the decision reversed after the match when Jay Lethal ran in and beat the dude up?
Don't know.
Why wasn't Jay Lethal DQ'd when he was stomping on the guy in the corner?
Don't know.
Let's see what else do we have on this show. We didn't have any run-ins in the opener. That was good. And I believe that was actually the only other match.
Why wasn't more... Wait, Morgan won anyway. Never mind. He could have disqualified Johnny Devine more. He could have lost even more.
Let's see what other matches we've got on here. Let's see. The girls. Let's see. The girls with... Awesome Kong hit the ring afterwards.
A lot of shit happened after the girls' match. They should have both been DQ'd.
Should have been a reversal right there. And then Angle and AJ, god damn, there was no reversal of a decision in that fucking thing right there. There was a ref bump. There was cheating. I don't know. So anyway.
The problem is, they can't establish a rule set and stick to it.
No, there
is none. It changes with every single match. Therefore, we can't care when rules get violated. It's impossible for us to care.
So anyway, that was stupid. And then we had Taylor versus Christie with Tracy as a referee. And there's no way Christie should have gotten this much heat on the women's champion. This was another example of Taylor Wilde went from, like, on the verge of being whatever a star is in TNA to just another girl.
Another random faceless chick. Christie got the heat, which even those words are wrong, but she got the heat with this bulldog. Christie's no good. And this bulldog was so ugly fans booed. And it wasn't that, boo, you're beating up our hero. It was, boo, we are sitting here watching you and you suck.
We got a subliminal message during this match, a flash on the screen that read, whoissuicide.com.
I thought I saw that.
Which is I believe the return of maybe Kaz, I don't know. There's a character in the TNA video game that will be named Suicide. So, yeah.
Can I tell you, I saw the subliminal message. I didn't read it. I saw WHO, and I thought, did TNA just plug in a subliminal message with the word whore during the women's match?
Sadly, no.
I thought they did. That's what I thought it was. I thought that's what I thought I saw, but it was so impossible I didn't want you to go back and check.
So Christie missed her deal off the top and got pinned with a bridging suplex. Match was better than I expected, but the idea of her beating on this champ for so long was ridiculous.
I do like the part where she missed her leg drop off the ropes and then immediately started to sell her vagina.
Sure.
By which I mean she acted like her groin hurt, not that she was actually prostituting herself.
And then, where's my cymbal crash?
I was very proud of that joke.
I knew you were. Let me find it here. Here we go. May take a while to load up.
Oh, wait. Yeah!
There you go. So, afterwards, as noted, Awesome Kong hit the ring and ran wild. And...
Okay. Awesome Kong came out. She killed Tracy.
I remember now.
Then she and Raisha Della teamed Taylor Wilde. They beat her up for a long time. Then Gail finally ran out. Then Kong killed Gail. Then Gail made her own comeback and sent Kong back in with a chair shot.
Yeah.
Christ, that's a lot of shit.
You know what? I didn't mind all of it except for the one thing that just fucking makes me so mad. When you have a babyface run in to clear the ring, but the heel has to beat him up for a while first.
Yeah.
Before they make a second comeback and clear the ring.
Right.
Why not just clear the goddamn ring?
I don't know.
If somebody has a good reason why Gail couldn't have just run in and cleared the ring, I'll give you $1,000. I guarantee you're not going to give me a good reason. There's no reason that Gail could not have just come out, cleared the ring, and everybody would have gone on their merry way.
The point, Brian, is to make it more complicated and harder to remember.
They just have to have more stuff.
Give me $1,000.
No, that's not a good excuse. There's no excuse why she could not have run out and cleared the ring. She was booked to clear the ring.
Right.
So why did you have to add gets beat up first?
Oh, no. They always do it. They do it every time. Because it's TNA. That's the reason.
Then we had a rough cut with Consequences Creed, which was good, except for the fact that all of his friends called him Austin. And for a while, it's like, who the fuck are they talking about?
Austin Idol.
And his real name is like, what did they say it was? Austin McAustin or something?
I didn't catch that. I thought it was Austin Creed.
No, they had a newspaper. It was like Austin Watson.
I didn't see that. I just thought it was great when...
Austin Watson? Who names their child that?
Consequences Creed's mother.
Jesus. Those are the consequences of that name.
Austin Watson. I just like that he was talking about how he wanted to be a wrestler his whole life, and he said around 7th grade he started to get serious about it, and so he thought, well, if I'm going to be a wrestler, first thing he said, I have to look like a wrestler. And I thought, winner. I'm in your corner, bud.
Then we had Hector Guerrero freaking out backstage. I will say the good first. I will say that I will go with the positive first. It was a very good promo, especially by Hernandez. There was a lot of intensity here.
It was quite bad until Hernandez came in. It was the usual Hector Guerrero ranting, and then Hernandez came in and started talking about how...
It's like a man trying to do Eddie Guerrero, and it's a bad parody.
He's trying to do his impression of his own little brother, and he can't do it. And if he could have done it, he would have been a bigger star, and Eddie would have been the lesser star. But Eddie was cooler, and thus a bigger star than Hector.
If he could...
I butchered that English.
I guess so.
But my point being, if Hector Guerrero could have been as cool as Eddie, he would have been, and he wasn't.
Yes.
So he was Hector. So anyway, Hernandez finally interrupted and saved this promo. Talked about how Homicide was his brother, and when Homicide bled, he bled. When Homicide hurt, he hurt. So he's going to take it out on Beer Money tonight. He's going to get revenge. He's going to go back to the streets and do it prison style, and he's coming to get the white boy, and it was awesome.
And then I thought, what happened to Homicide? I was racking my brain to remember what happened on the pay-per-view. And I rewound it to see if they'd actually showed a replay. And in fact, they had not. They did a promo for the 2% of the people watching this show that bought the pay-per-view. Everybody else was watching this going, what the fuck happened to Homicide? Why is he not here? What did they do to him? What the fuck's going on? And then they went to commercial, and then when they came back, they showed the footage. Mind-boggling. Would you not show the...
No, Brian, they wouldn't. They wouldn't do that.
So then they interviewed Beer Money, and they were just awesome. I have nothing more to say.
Okay.
Hernandez and James Storm, I very much enjoyed this match. The bad guys had to double-team the giant man behind the ref's back to get the heat. Then the Super Mex made his comeback. The people were going crazy for it. Knocked Rude off the apron. Caught Storm coming off the ropes and powerbombed him for the pin. This was fun television. I have no complaints whatsoever. If every match was just fun wrestling like this company would be great.
Yeah. Duh. But it's not because they're stupid. You know why Beer Money is great, besides the obvious of just how great they are at everything they do? They're heels in the sense that they are not as good wrestlers as their opponents.
Yes.
Their opponents have more skill and or strength and or speed and whatever. They're inferior wrestlers, Beer Money, but they win through nefarious tactics.
Yes.
That's called being a heel. That's why fans boo them. That's what makes them awesome. And yes, as you noted, they made Hernandez look like the god of wrestling here, and he vanquished them. And then we found out shortly thereafter that he vowed next week to vanquish the other one.
Yeah.
Easy. This is a simple program.
It is so easy and so great.
Yes.
And why everything can't be like that on this company, I have no idea.
There was a point here very early in the match. This goes back to the thing, like I said, where they didn't show what happened to Homicide. They began to talk about that move. And how you should buy the pay-per-view to see that move. And I thought, I saw the pay-per-view. What move? What are they talking about? And eventually they described it in they basically out and out said it was Hernandez border tossing Homicide over the ropes onto Beer Money, but mostly they just said that move. They didn't say this thing Hernandez did or this LAX double team. No. That move.
Yeah.
Pay to see this is what they said.
Yeah. Cornette came out for several major announcements, signed Hernandez versus Robert Roode, Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong in a street fight, and Samoa Joe in a four-way for the pay-per-view, with the challengers being determined over the next 3 weeks, with Booker T versus Rhino starting next week. At least it's just a four-way so far. It's not a four-way with weapons.
Or a four-way on a pole.
Or a four-way on a pole. Then we had Angle versus AJ in the gold medal challenge. Of course, we had an entire screen full of rules. 3 2-point periods, 2 points for a takedown or near fall, win on most points or pinfall. I already fucked that up. 3 2-minute periods, 2 points for a takedown or near fall, win on most points or pinfall. Got that, everybody? All right, good. So, took the ropes down, gold medal on the table. In the first 2-minute period, Angle went up 6-0 with takedowns. It's actually had a shocking amount of heat. Because it was like a contest between two men.
Yes.
What
a novel concept. Yes.
The people were into it. Then in the second period, AJ did a rolling cradle, which counted for 4 points, 2 for the takedown and 2 for the near fall, which is kind of pushing it for me, but I'll go along with it. Then Angle got another takedown, so it was 8-4. AJ then got 4 points at the end of the period for another roll-up, so it was 8-8 going into the third. So, then we got bullshit. This had been so great for 2 periods. For 6 minutes, 4 minutes, sorry. 2 times 2.
4. For
4 minutes, TNA was awesome. Then they became shitty again. What happened in the third period? Well, where should we start? First, AJ went behind, and Angle escaped with an illegal elbow and then got a takedown. Now, this was the final period out of 3. There were 30 seconds. Actually, there was about a minute left on the clock when I first noticed this. A minute left on the clock. No scoreboard. There was not a scoreboard on the screen. Explain this to me.
Well, they assume everyone like you is taking copious notes on their program as they watch.
There was a scoreboard in the first period. I'm pretty sure there was a scoreboard in the second period. And in the last minute of the third period, they just got rid of the scoreboard.
Right.
The most important goddamn part of the entire thing.
Right.
I don't know sports, Vince, but in the Super Bowl,
The scoreboard can be seen in the fourth quarter, yes.
in the middle of the fourth quarter, they just don't get rid of it for the last half of the fourth quarter.
Right up there in the corner, where it always is.
Shocking. Yeah, well, TNA got rid of it.
Innovative.
So, in this final minute, without a fucking score on the screen, AJ hit Angle with a Northern Lights suplex and took out the ref in the process. So Angle then clotheslined AJ, who sold it like he was dead. Off clothesline, by the way. And keep in mind that this all happened, the ref took a bump with about 30 seconds left on the clock. So then the lights went out, and when they came back on, Angle had a black bat.
Ba-dun.
And he was about to hit AJ with the black bat. When the lights went out again, Jeff Jarrett's music played. They came back on. AJ had a guitar. He clonked Angle, bad neck and all, right in the head, and busted him open. And the ref crawled in and counted the pin. Now, there was no clock on the screen, but a good minute had elapsed here. And, yeah.
I guess the referee is also the timekeeper.
Apparently he is, because the time limit had long since expired, and he still came in and counted a pinfall.
I just figured it
for
out.
a man covering a bloody wrestler with pieces of guitar and string and wood strewn about.
You know how they always say there's no timeouts in wrestling? Hitting the ref must be a timeout.
Maybe it was in this case.
Unless it's a DQ.
So then, there's a guitar, there's shards, there's whatever. AJ celebrates with his gold medal, which he won by cheating, in a manner like he'd actually won an Olympic gold medal. So, this is supposed to be a babyface move, I guess, but to me it's a heel move. And then, of course, Mike Tenay screamed, "The mystery of the guitar continues." And that was the end of the show.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Violent thumbs down.
I wouldn't go that far. This was.
It was.
I've seen much worse impacts.
It was better than it's been in recent weeks. We had 2 or 3 fun TV matches, which is, again, all I asked for.
I'll give it a thumbs in the middle. Amazingly.
No, I can't do that.
Amazingly.
Maybe if you took the same thing show and reorganized the segments, but the end was so dumb. So dumb. It was so great up to the point where Kurt threw that elbow. An elbow that would be legal in 99.9% of all pro wrestling matches in America, and the fans still booed because it was the first illegal thing they had done. And every once in a while I think to myself, holy crap, they do understand. And then the rest of it.
You were wrong.
I was wrong. I was wrong.
You were wrong.
This is what wrong means, when you're more than wrong. I have one more thing to say about Impact. Specifically when the lights went out. Let's recap. Kurt was in the ring. He already had AJ Styles unconscious and killed with his clothesline. Then he looked to the sky. Even though he had his opponent dead and defeated, he looked to the sky, the lights went out, they came back on. Kurt had a bat and was about to waffle AJ. Here's where the lights went out and Jeff Jarrett's music came on. Like 30 seconds passed in the dark. A long time. No one said anything. There was just that wow, wow, wow sound over and over and over again. The lights came back on. Kurt had not moved. In the dark, he had frozen and perhaps thought AJ would just stay right where he was too. AJ, meanwhile, had teleported behind him and now had the guitar.
Yeah.
That just irritated the fuck out of me. AJ moved 10 feet. Kurt was like playing freeze tag. He couldn't move.
To the back! I'm just going to get the show off right by giving you all a warning. Not all of you, a portion of you. I'd say about, 20%, maybe 30%. If you're a fan of TNA, I recommend shutting this show off now. And I want to, I will say first off, before I go any further, that this was a much better Impact than usual. I will not lie.
There was plenty of really good wrestling.
There was some really good wrestling on this show. Now, I want to start off by saying that in the last 24 hours, we have posted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 radio shows. This will be the 6th.
That's insane.
And I've got a Tough Talk, a Carl Stern, and a 5-Star Radio that I have to post. And I guess I'm just going to post them in the morning to try and space everything out. That's 8 shows in the last 24 hours. So there's no shortage of radio. Don't listen to this one.
If you don't like this one, there's more.
If you don't like me ranting about Impact, just shut the show off. Because I have determined, and I know this is no secret to everybody, except maybe to me, the show's just not for me.
Impact.
I don't like it.
No.
The show comes on, and I can think of 100 things I'd rather do than watch this show. Now, some of the people, there's some people on our board that have been very loud complainers about me bitching about Impact. And what's funny is they happen to be fans of a certain type of wrestling. And perhaps if I presented some lucha, they wouldn't like it, because lucha may not be for them. Or perhaps if I presented them with some MMA, they'd say, just not for me. Because, you know, everybody has something that they like, and everybody has things that they don't like. And Impact is just not for me. And I actually got even more angry about this show because there was so much good stuff on it. And it made the stuff that wasn't good make me so much more angry.
It stood out more.
This is what I like in my wrestling, okay? I'm going to just tell everybody right now, so there's no mistaking this. I don't want to feel stupid when I watch wrestling. Wrestling is rather stupid, quite frankly. It is a wacky, fake sport with goofy characters and sometimes embarrassing characters and embarrassing angles. Nobody likes to feel dumb or embarrassed when they watch a show. I want something that I can watch and feel good about what I'm watching. I don't feel like that when I watch Impact. I'm going to tell you why. All I ask is just for everything to make sense in my wrestling. I watch lucha, and if you watch lucha expecting it to be like American wrestling, it's just not going to work. It's different. That's fine. If I am watching lucha and I'm in a lucha mood, and I know that all this wacky stuff is going to happen with Super Porky, it all works in the universe of lucha. Fine. Same thing with Japanese wrestling. Japanese wrestling, they hit each other really hard. Great. That's the way it's done there. In hardcore wrestling, I'm not a big fan of hardcore wrestling, but my God, have I seen some great hardcore matches. Because a great hardcore match, it works. Everything makes sense in the context of the match, and it's just great. It's the reason that I could say that about any type of wrestling or MMA. I don't like Impact. I do not like the fact that the rules are so inconsistent throughout the show. I don't like the fact that every time I watch the show, I ask logical questions and there's no answer for them. Why, for example, just out of curiosity, why in a match can you have two girls hit the ring and have a cat fight right in front of the referee and have one guy hold another guy with his arms behind his back so that his partner can hit the man right in front of the referee, and this is not a DQ? Now, if every match on the show had a lack of rules, I would be fine. But when in the opener, that's allowed, and then later on in the show, I watch another match where another guy runs in, and this time it's a DQ, I just can't handle it. I don't want to watch that stuff. I do not want to watch a show like that. Now, it's my job to review it. I'm going to review it every week, but I'm not going to like it, everybody. That's just the way it is. This is not my thing. There are things on the show that I'm going to like. Gail Kim and Awesome Kong was great. That was a great match. And you know what? That was a match where there were a couple of run-ins, sure, but that's fine. It was a hardcore match. It was a street fight. So, let me ask this question. You had a street fight. We had Raisha Saeed run in, and was that the only person that ran in?
During the match, yes.
Okay, that's fine. So Raisha Saeed ran in, and I'm fine with that, because it's a street fight. There are no rules. In a street fight, men can run in. It's not going to be a DQ. So the next match is a ladder match. And we've got Joe and Angle on the outside, Booker and Joe on the outside. And every now and then Booker will start to do something or he'll cause a little bit of trouble, and then he'll just stand back out on the outside again. Why don't you just get involved? Why don't you and Joe just get in the ring and attack both guys? It's the same rules as the street fight. Why are you heels and babyfaces obeying no rules?
The funniest part about that is...
You are so dastardly. You are so dastardly, Booker T, that you will interfere if you get an opportunity here when you think the ref's not looking in a match with no rules. But you won't just go in there. I just don't like this.
The funniest part about that particular detail is that match started with the greatest opening to a ladder match I ever saw, wherein Kurt Angle had his buddy Booker distract AJ at ringside while Kurt tried to set up the ladder and frantically climb it. And the ref was fine with all this. There was no DQ as AJ and Booker brawled. And I thought, yes, this makes sense. And then it stopped making sense.
No, it stopped making sense immediately. I don't like the fact that the two big angles, there are two big angles in this promotion right now. There are two big storylines. One is the black bat, and one is the silver guitar. Now, the black bat has to be Sting. That's the storyline. There is no other explanation except that it has to be Sting. There's only been one man in this entire storyline that has brought up, hey, maybe somebody else got a black bat. Are you sure it's Sting?
And that person was immediately shouted down.
He was. And Joe said, no, seriously. It's a black bat. It has to be Sting. Okay, fine. If it's a guy's gimmick, it has to be them. However, we now have a silver guitar, which has made its appearance for 3 weeks now, and that is the biggest mystery in the company. Nobody knows who it is. Nobody can say this man's name. His fucking ring music accompanies the guitar. And this is like a mystery.
Well,
this makes me feel dumb.
It's not such a mystery. It's like they're so happy at his return they cannot bring themselves to say it.
No, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. It's called the mystery of the guitar. This is a mystery. What is mysterious about this? There's one guy that has used a silver guitar in the entire history of this company. And his ring music plays.
That is also
what part of this is a mystery?
I don't know.
However, when Sting's music plays and a black bat appears, there's no mystery. It has to be Sting. This makes me angry as a viewer. This is why I cannot enjoy this show. I just can't. That's all there is to it. And like I said, if you love Impact and you can look beyond this stuff and you think this is a brilliantly booked show and it's your favorite show of the week, great. And some people, I'm sure, will go on the board and scream about how I am the biggest detriment to the site. I am turning off listeners. People don't want to hear this show anymore. Meanwhile, we have a poll asking, what match are you looking forward to more than any other? And there's always a match at the bottom of the poll. And it's always TNA. Every single time. Because TNA fans are always the loudest. They are very loyal fans. They are very, very loyal fans. Their voices will be heard. However, their voices are not the majority. I am not in the wrong here. All right? I actually get out of this house, and I go to Affliction, or I go to UFC shows, or I go to pro wrestling events, to Layla Championship Wrestling. I'm going to go to WWE when they're in wherever. And it's not like there are TNA fans everywhere clamoring about this promotion. It just does not happen. Nobody watches this show. So I feel completely confident in continuing to express my hatred for this show. And I'm not going to come onto this program and lie. I am not going to lie and pretend to like something I don't like. You are paying to hear my opinion. And my opinion is, I don't like this show. And I'm not going to lie about it. Now, I will be fair. I will talk about things on this show that I thought were good. And there were a lot of things on this show that were good. But I got very, very upset when every time something was good, something had to be done to ruin it. That makes me mad. So, I'm also a little more old school. I'm a little old school. And this is what I like in my wrestling. When you've got an opener, for example, the opener this week was Robert Roode against Hernandez. They were having a really good match. I enjoyed this match. I watched this match and I thought, I'm going to like Impact. I'm going to make myself like Impact today. And this is a good match. And I was watching it, and they got the heat on Hernandez, and it was fine. And then Hernandez started to make his big comeback, and that's when stuff happened.
A lot of stuff happened.
Hernandez made his comeback, and then he got cut off. And then he did some more moves, and then he got cut off. And then girls hit the ring. And then Storm tried to interfere and hold Hernandez, but Rude ran into Storm and knocked him off the apron. And then Hernandez did a move or something like that and got the pin. I don't even remember, because as soon as the girls hit the ring, my interest in this match just ended. Now, I want wrestling where in the opening match on a TV show, you have a bad guy and you have a good guy, and the bad guy does some stuff, the good guy makes a comeback and wins. And in the end of this match, that's what happened. Now, if anybody can give me one good reason why in the opener of this show, in what was a perfectly fine match, you had to have girls interfering and a partner interfering, which did not lead to the finish. If anybody can give me a good reason why that had to happen, why in the opener of Impact you couldn't just have Robert Roode get the heat on Hernandez, Hernandez make a comeback and win, which in the end, Hernandez just won. If you can give me a good reason why they couldn't do that, I will give you $100.
Let me think here.
Nobody will. Nobody will give me an explanation that I find valid.
100 smackers.
The reason was they needed to get some more people on TV. Mm-hmm. They had to get the girls on TV. They had to get Storm on TV. That's not a good enough reason for me. I just want a match. I was enjoying this match. If this would have been the exact same match and you would have took all this crap out, it would have been great. Instead, they had to put the crap in, and I'm sitting there going, why isn't the ref DQing these people? What the fuck's going on here? Why is Storm interfering and grabbing a man right in front of the referee? All of this. I don't like it. I don't like it, period. I don't like it.
You done?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you don't like stuff that makes you feel stupid. I don't like stuff that makes you feel tired. I don't want to have to work to pay attention to a show. And have to work to pay attention to...
Oh, one more thing, by the way. Hate to interrupt you.
No, you don't.
If you like Impact and you're still listening, I don't want to hear you bitching. Because I gave you fair warning about 10 minutes ago. Now go ahead.
I don't want to think about people kicking out of WrestleMania, not WrestleMania finishers, but Rob Roode here hit a blockbuster on the second rope for a 2.9 count in the opener. I don't want to think about dramatic moments. I don't want to get tired in the opener. I want my emotion to last for 2 hours. I don't want to get spent after the opening match. I don't need super close near falls in the opener, let alone super close near falls with two girls running in and a guy running in. It's all just too much for me in the opener. This is going to be two guys doing some moves, and one guy hits one and wins.
Then we had AJ doing an interview with Kurt's Metals, and he said that he was going to have a ladder match tonight, for free on TV, by the way. And what can be said, except that there's one of the reasons nobody buys pay-per-views is there's no reason to. Everything is always given away for free on TV. I mean, I yelled at SmackDown for this last week. SmackDown, and I think ECW as well, where the babyface challengers all left with their head held high. And it was stupid on SmackDown, too. It's not just an Impact thing. It is stupid any time in wrestling where you've got a pay-per-view coming up, and on the last show before the pay-per-view, the babyface lays out the heel and leaves with his head held high. What are you paying for?
You know, I remember like a month ago on SmackDown, there was an angle with Edge and Vicky where they were about to reconcile, and Vicky announced, by the way, I brought back Undertaker, and you're going to wrestle him in Hell in a Cell. And they didn't wrestle in Hell in a Cell later on that show.
No. You paid for it.
They didn't wrestle the next week.
No.
It was like a month later. And they spent a month making you think about it and making you hype for it and making you want to see it. So by the time this match happened, it was a long-awaited Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
This one, they announced a ladder match, and
you know, let me say one more thing.
A little more than 90 minutes later, it was over.
Let me say one more thing about my Impact hate. I really would like to like this show. I don't know if people understand that. I have to watch this show every week.
So you may as well like it.
I really want to like this show. If anybody thinks that I want to hate Impact, think again. I want to like everything I do in my life. There's nothing in my life that I do that I don't like, or that I want to do that I'm not going to like. That's not how I am. Some of you clearly are, because you know you're not going to like me ranting about Impact, but you listen to the show anyway. All right? That's not how I like to live my life. I want to love this show. I have to watch this show 52 times per year.
God, that's depressing.
I have to spend 104 hours of my life every year for the past 6 years watching this show. I would like to love it. I would like to wake up every Thursday and go, I cannot wait for Impact tonight.
Hooray, it's Impact Day.
God Almighty is my witness. The Lord in heaven above. I swear to God on a stack of Bibles, as a reverend, I want to like this show. This is not my fault that I can't like it. It's not. I want to like it. Now, with that said, next we had the Motor City Machine Guns against Eric Young and Chris Sabin. This was a fun match.
Wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Eric Young and BG James.
Whatever. This was a fun match. I have no problems with it whatsoever. If this were any other show that I liked, I would probably bitch about the fact that Eric Young pinned Chris Sabin, but I'm not doing any complaining about this because all things considered, this was fun and it was fine. And there was actually a great fucking moment in it when afterwards, Chris Sabin refused to shake the hand of BG James. He spit in his hand and slapped him, and BG lost his mind. They had a massive pull-apart brawl. Geeks ran in, and in the melee, Alex Shelley reached over and tried to take out BG's eye. Awesome.
Just for that part.
This was awesome. Hey, if something is great on Impact, I will tell you. And I can tell you that this was awesome. So, there you go.
I do love the Machine Guns. I did enjoy this match, but remember I said earlier about I don't want to feel tired? They did so many goddamn moves in this match.
I don't care. I'm not complaining.
A million moves a second, and it got to the point where finally Eric Young tagged in BG, and he did like a snapmare and slowly bent over to pick the guy up gently and brought him to his feet, and I thought, thank you. That was great. And then they had their fun brawl. So even when I liked this, it still left me exhausted.
Then we had Angle backstage with Borash, and this was another thing that annoys me. Angle's like, why does Booker have such a great locker room and I don't? And
I don't know, Kurt.
The Bookers apparently don't know either.
No one knows.
And it's sad because I actually paid enough attention to storyline to know that Joe gave Booker his locker room for the month that Booker was holding onto the belt for him. Would it not stand to reason that once Joe beat him for the belt, he'd take his damn locker room back? No, apparently Joe is now fine dressing in a broom closet. It's just permanently Booker T's locker room. So, now with that said, Booker T was awesome here. He referred to Rhino as one rhinoceros. He said he was going to beat him tonight to qualify for a title match at the pay-per-view. And, yeah.
There were two other great details here. One was where Booker demanded that Kurt remove his, and I quote, foot garb. Foot garb.
Yes.
And then they agreed, I'll help you win your match, you help me with mine. Simple.
Yeah.
It all made sense. This was a thumbs-up segment.
So now we had a thumbs-down segment. Karen's
angle. Fist-down segment.
Karen's angle. Has there been one good Karen's angle yet?
No.
And what makes every Karen's angle bad?
Well, many things, but one of them, Karen Angle.
Karen Angle. First off, she introduces his show, and remember when this woman first debuted?
And it was
like, how did WWE never do anything with this woman? Because she was so awesome. Now she is the biggest detriment to a show. She is. So she interviews SoCal Val, and within 10 seconds, both girls were bitching at each other. Channel changer. An immediate channel changer. So then Sanjay came in and said he was in love with her and wanted to know what he could do to make her choose him. And then Jay Lethal ran in, speared Sanjay over the couch. They had a brawl. Both women were screeching at the top of their lungs. Melina times 2. That's what we need here. And in the melee, Val was killed. They immediately cut to the announcers, who announced that Val had a concussion and facial bruising. That was the last we heard of this.
We never heard from them again. This was terrible. There's mostly just shrieking and just pointlessness, but the worst part for me was when Karen said, Lethal has put a deadline. He's put his foot down and said, you must choose one of them. And Val said she didn't want to. At that point, doesn't the angle end? Doesn't Jay just throw up his hands and say, fuck it, I'm done? Or does he instead stalk her and assault any other guy who gets close to her?
As a normal human being, this show, how could anybody like this woman?
How could anyone sympathize with Val? How could anyone sympathize with Lethal?
Although she has enormous tits.
Well, there's that.
So
and they were out here pretty much. So.
That was a thumbs up moment right there. But that was it. That was the only good thing about this segment. So then, and boy, what this show makes me think about women. I am not normally...
You just objectified her.
I am not normally such a callous pig. But when I watch this show, I think, thank God you've got huge tits. And when I hear these two screaming, I think, shut up, bitches. I never think these things ever in my life.
This show turns you into a cad.
Have you ever heard me use the term bitches in regard to women? It has never, ever happened in my entire life until I started watching this program. I swear to God Almighty. So then...
What happened next?
Then we had Austin Creed doing a segment, which was in fact great, when they asked him, what made you get into wrestling? And he said, 'cause it was awesome.
What got me into wrestling was, wrestling is awesome.
Yeah.
Fan favorite right there. How do you not cheer for this guy now?
This was great.
This was a great segment. He talked about winning a tournament, and his coach told him, don't be like the guy before you, blaze your own trail. And yes, this was a fantastic segment.
Then we had Matt Morgan against Frankie Capone, and at least on the bright side, Frankie Capone did not get any heat on Matt Morgan.
No, even though he jumped into the bell, he still didn't really get heat on him.
So then Bubba and Devon jumped Morgan, and Abyss, who only saves people when they are in, what was the word Don used?
Dire need?
Dire need of help.
Trouble? Something?
Dire circumstances. Abyss once again saved Matt Morgan. Why should Matt Morgan need saving?
Well, because he's
now
not
let me
Superman.
ask you a question. When Goldberg was killing people, was Goldberg attacked on like his 8th week and Kevin Nash had to save him?
No.
No, he was not.
In fact,
I'll talk more about this later, though.
I suspect there were times when Goldberg was attacked and he merely fought off both men.
Probably.
I guarantee you that happened.
In fact, there were matches where he just beat up 3 men.
Sure.
And they all beat him at once.
I also like here, Bubba came out and he basically talked, he called Morgan a moron and he said nothing of any substance, but he talked for 10 seconds. This is enough to distract him long enough for Devon to come out and get him.
So he was right in the end.
Yeah, Morgan is a moron. Yes, because everyone else in the world knew Team 3E is going to get you. If you focus on Brother Ray, Devon will get you from behind. When this happened, Don West said, you can't blame Matt Morgan. Brother Ray set him up perfectly. So let's review. This was his plan, him being Bubba Ray. I will come out with a microphone. I will call Morgan names like moron, and he'll be so focused on me, Devon will get him from behind.
Yeah.
And that set him up perfectly.
Perfect plan.
Who could see this plan coming?
So then today interviewed Nash, who took credit for getting Joe into TNA, said they'd spent a lot of time together, and he couldn't hang out with the guys that he didn't like, and today asked about Joe's temper, and Nash said clearly I hadn't gotten to him about that, about how the mental is more important than the physical. It's 1 step forward and 2 steps back with that, Joe, he said. And then him and Mike today began talking about how back in the day, the business was different. And now these young fuckers just don't respect the elders. And today was like, yes, they just don't respect the pecking order. So they are doing New Blood versus Millionaires Club, and apparently Mike today is a millionaire. So
and once again, the old guys are going to be the baby faces, apparently, based on this promo.
Yeah.
The ambitious young Turks, they're little snot-nosed punks. You need to care about the rickety old guys like Nash who can barely walk.
Then we got another segment that annoyed me, and I love the beautiful people. They were interviewed about the Angelina versus Taylor title match of the next pay-per-view. Now, you would think that when you interview Angelina Love about her title match with Taylor, she will concentrate on cutting a promo on Taylor. Instead, 50% of this promo was her cutting a promo on the blonde interview chick. Why? Why does everybody have to cut a promo on the interview chick?
Because Bryan is fun when women get yelled at and humiliated.
I just don't get it.
That's the theory.
Is she going to eventually win the title or something like that? What am I missing here?
No.
Then this led to Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn and the beautiful people harassed Taylor, and they hit her with a box box, and it was immediately to the back. That's the whole angle.
I was in the bathroom for almost all of this. I walked out, and I saw Billy Gunn tousling Taylor Wilde's hair, and then they threw a box at her, and then it cut back a half a second in time, and this box hit her in the head like 3 times, and then it went to commercial, and I looked around the room.
We never heard about it again.
I looked around the room in disbelief, thinking perhaps there was a camera crew around, that I had been set up, perhaps I had been punked. No, this was their show.
I feel I've been punked every night that I watch this. So, it gets better later, by the way. Rhino cut a promo about how he's going to win tonight and get a shot at the pay-per-view. We had Booker T against Rhinoceros P. Hornhofer.
Rhinoceros he opened his promo with the following line. There's a lot of drama going on around here, and none of it has to do with wrestling.
Yeah. So Rhino had a pin early, but Sharmell put Booker's foot on the ropes. And once again, the fucking incompetent referees, and not in wrestling terms. I'm talking, these human beings are incompetent.
They can't be good, bad refs.
Sharmell puts Booker's foot on the ropes right in front of the goddamn referee. He's in perfect position to see it, which of course is not a DQ. So the match continues, and then Booker beat him clean with the axe kick, and there you go.
This made me happy. They did some wackiness with Sharmell, and Christian came out and got her, and then they went to break. And then when they came back, Booker had the heat. Rhino made his comeback. They went back and forth for a bit. And then Booker hit his finisher and won. And anytime I see that happen in TNA, I feel like a victory's been accomplished.
I will give a thumbs up to that segment.
Yes.
Although the Sharmell thing, I blame the referee for being a dipshit. That referee should be fucking fired. So then we had the blonde interviewing Gail Kim. And on the bright side, Gail did not cut a promo on the blonde. But she did tell her that she'd asked a really stupid question. She said tonight she was going to be mean, we'd see a different side of her, and she would do anything to win the title. It was actually better than your usual Gail Kim promo, so I will give this a thumbs in the middle.
She also asked, what am I supposed to do, just pack up my bags and leave? That was funny.
And she did. Pete Williams against Consequences Creed, I guess for the X title. I'm not sure. This... where to start? Rocca tried to kick Creed outside and hit the guardrail. But the problem was he never ducked.
No.
She just kicked right over his head at the guardrail.
Kicked the guardrail at full force and began to sell her toe.
She is so comically bad.
Which begs the question, why do they keep using her to interfere?
Comedy?
It just leaves her hurting herself.
Alex Shelley, I think, was on Observer Live, and I think we were talking about the TNA Today or something like that, and some roundtable deal or some such bullshit, I forget, but... I said, has there been anybody that's done that that's really surprised you? And he said, Rocca Khan. He goes, she was actually very, very lucid in the segment, and I did not expect that from her. That tells you all you need to know, everybody.
I see.
So, anyway, then we had the Sheik Abdul Bashir come out to watch. Creed made his big comeback. Bashir hit the apron. Creed knocked him off, hit a flip dive on both guys, went for his finisher on Petey, but then Bashir ran in and hit him in the gut for the DQ. And Don finally explained how this works in TNA. He said, and I quote, it was so blatant. So, apparently, if you interfere in front of the referee in TNA, is okay unless it's too blatant.
There is a blatancy degree.
We don't know what that is, mind you.
But there's a line somewhere.
There is a line somewhere between too blatant and not quite blatant enough. So, whatever that mysterious line is, that's the DQ line in TNA.
This match was awesome. I love this. The Creed promo they did earlier made the crowd love him. Plus, he himself is so likable and so, good looking and so athletic. And he works so well with Petey and everything was going along fine. And the Sheik came in and interfered, which is bullshit, but at least, in theory, it leads to either a three-way or at least to Creed versus the Sheik, so everything's fine. And I just really enjoyed this segment.
Or Petey versus the Sheik, because after the match, after Sheik had saved Petey from losing, Petey yelled at the Sheik for interfering in his match.
Right.
Right, you say. I say wrong.
Well, you see...
That's the dumbest goddamn thing I've ever heard of.
Even though there's interference in 90% of matches in TNA, We have seen twice now in the past month where someone has interfered to help someone, and the person who's been helped has been angry their match has been interfered with.
Yes.
I forget what the other one was, but I know it happened. And so then they shouted at each other, and they shoved, and then the screen just went to black.
Then we had a horrible segment with the Rock and Raves and the Chris Abyss Brotherhood. And all I know, I didn't listen to a goddamn thing. I couldn't even bring myself to listen to it. All I know is at the end of it, the bad guys attacked the good guys, and we actually started a clock. From the moment that the first bad guy hit the first good guy, 4 seconds, and that's being generous. I counted 3, Vinny counted 4. 4 seconds elapsed before it went to black. Yeah.
And then we never saw them again.
No, that was the end. That was the entire angle. Television time was wasted for this angle.
It was 26 seconds shown with him bitching back and forth. What this thing was about, I was paying attention. The comic book geeks were upset that the Rock Band dorks were playing Rock Band too loud. And thus they had a fight. The fight consisted of Eric Young waving his cape around. It consisted of Korean Man pronouncing the letter L like an R because he's Asian, you see, and that's comedy. And Shark Boy doing
wonder Gail Kim left.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. And Shark Boy doing his Steve Austin impression. And then Lance Hoyt, who, the Rock and Raves, they totally came off like the cool guys here. They're so much cooler than these masked geeks. And they hit them with their guitars, and 4 seconds later it went to black.
No buys. Then we had the Gail Kim Awesome Kong street fight, which was Gail's swan song here in TNA, and it was a great fucking match. This was the best match on the show, and it had the most heat on the show.
Yes.
And it, ironically, may have been the only match that made any sense the entire way through. I don't know if there's anything to that.
That's really not ironic.
Maybe it's just me. But anyway, then we got the thing that I hated, which, again, as a fan, all I want is a little bit of logic. All I want is a show that makes sense. After the match, Raisha and Kong started beating up Gail. They were going to kill her. Now, earlier in the show, Team 3D attacked a 7-foot, 320-pound man.
A beast.
And Abyss had to save him. Meanwhile, Awesome Kong and Raisha Saeed are beating a 5'2", 110-pound woman and threatening to kill her. Abyss is nowhere to be seen. Now, Abyss was saving random people last time I checked. Whenever someone was in grave danger, Abyss made the save. In fact, he made the save a couple of times when Kong was attempting to kill people. Abyss was nowhere to be seen. Better yet, nobody was anywhere to be seen. Which, I guess, does make sense because everybody in TNA hates women. So, fine. Eventually, the 2 butch women, coincidentally, the one with the shaved head and ODB, whatever the fuck she is, they saved Gail Kim. There is a subliminal message being told by this company. That being that all the guys are homosexuals and all the women are lesbians. Does that not make complete sense? Prove to me otherwise. With the exception of Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt, who are both pining for the same women, who perhaps in the big swerve will fuck each other in the end.
That wouldn't surprise me at all if they start fighting and then just stop and made out.
Maybe.
that would bring the storyline full circle. And they end up a couple and soak out vows out in the cold.
Everybody on this show hates women. That's a male. And I guess the females all love each other, except for the heel females. I'm not sure about the beautiful people. They could be lesbians too. I haven't figured this one out fully yet, but there is definitely a message being sent by this. And incest. The only one that saved Gail Kim was Katie Kim, her sister. It's the only one. And, and then finally the other girls ran out, so there you go.
The match was awesome.
What will become of Katie Kim now that...
it's a good question.
Now that Gail is gone.
Is she going to get into the biz?
Katie Kim is apparently Earl Hebner's daughter.
What?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, Vince, he must have married an Asian woman.
I see.
Or they adopted. That's how it works. But go on.
So what you're telling me is that's not actually Gail's sister? There's a work sister?
It's a work sister.
I see. Okay.
Because all Asians look alike. And they all pronounce their L with an R.
Apparently they all fooled me. I thought they were actually sisters, so what the fuck do I know?
Well, you're a fool, but go on.
I am a fool. But the match was fun, even though most times when they do crowd brawling, it really sucks. This was the 10th time out of 10 when it was actually really, really fun crowd brawling. They were climbing up walls and jumping off them and doing all sorts of cool stuff with whacking each other with umbrellas. So this was a good crowd brawl. Then they got in the ring and became a good ring brawl, and then they did their wacky finish. But goodbye, Gail.
Sucks to be you. Actually, it doesn't. You're going to WWE.
Oh, she's been saved.
Although I will miss her because she was one of the rare good things in this company. And
I do want to add, she was really, really hot tonight.
She was. I guess we should mention that. This was a street fight. So Gail's street clothes are apparently Daisy Dukes and a very, very tight, white, small tank top. And Awesome Kong's street clothes are, in fact, her ring gear.
That's what she wears, like, to the mall.
And I actually could see her going through airports wearing that gear. Although, in an insider note, I did once travel in a car with Awesome Kong on the way to the four-way with Larry Sweeney, and she was not, in fact, wearing this gear.
That's disappointing.
She wore a tracksuit. Actually, it was like a New Japan tracksuit, if I recall correctly. So she was far more prepared than I was. Way more professional. So then we had Angle and AJ in the ladder match, which I just wish I could have watched Kurt Angle and AJ Styles have a good wrestling match. Is that too much to ask? Apparently it is. We had to have a ladder match, which is uncomfortable enough with Kurt because he's fucking broken down. And this guy does not need to be taking bumps off ladders.
But
he took one bump near the end that looked like he goddamn near killed himself. And, of course, we had the interference and the non-interference, which was actually even more infuriating. And finally, we had both guys on the ladder. The lights went out. Jeff Jarrett's music played. They came back on. AJ hit Angle with the guitar on the top of his head, which is attached to his surgically repaired and injured neck, which is always a good one. Angle fell down. You could actually hear people booing AJ Styles. And then he got the medals and won. And that was the end of the show.
Thank God Impact ended. There was a lot of stupidity here. We already talked about how they did a ladder match with 90 minutes of build. But it begs the question, why put Kurt Angle in a ladder match at all? What is the point? He have a good match either way, and you've only upped his injury chance. When he took that spill, he somehow managed to jump off the ladder and land on it, which it sounds funny. It's really not. It looked horrifying. And he got it out because he's Kurt Angle, but Jesus Christ. And then, yes, and the lights went out, and Jarrett's music played, and all down West could say, is it him? Could it be? They're not allowed to say the words Jeff or Jarrett.
Well, maybe it's not. But apparently it is. I don't even know how to explain this. I mean, the geeks on the show are assuming it has to be Sting because of the bat. So I guess we're geeks for assuming it has to be Jarrett.
I say again, the only reason I think they're doubting it is because...
I'm hoping, you know what I'm hoping in the end?
It's not him?
No, I just know how this is going to turn out. Jarrett's going to have the bat, and Sting's going to have the fucking guitar.
That could actually well be it.
Of course it's what's going to be.
That could be it.
I'm telling you all right now that's what's going to happen.
But for the time being,
Actually, that makes sense, because then Sting's still a babyface, and Jarrett's a heel.
That would actually be a much better thing than what
There you go, everybody. I'm booking now.
Your brain figures out TNA.
My brain, I just try and think of, okay, what is the exact opposite of what we expect? Because that's what Vince Russo's going to do. So there's your answer.
Yes.
Sting's got the guitar, and Jarrett's got the bat. Duh.
But Don West is so eagerly anticipating the return of Jeff Jarrett, he can't believe he'd possibly be lucky enough to see Jeff Jarrett twice in one lifetime, that he cannot bring himself to say his name for fear that the 1% chance his hopes may be dashed.
Hopes are dashed, just...
TNA just crushes the spirit.
I'm always like in such a good mood, and then that show starts. And, you know, I sometimes hear, Brian, how did you miss this segment on Impact? Were you not paying attention? The answer is sometimes no. Sometimes it's because so much is going on that I can't keep up taking notes. And sometimes it's just because I don't even care. I've lost all interest in the show. And you know what? I can't even get too mad because I would bet that 75% of the people that complain about me missing segments don't even watch this show. Because they can't. It's a lie. Nobody can really watch this show. I shouldn't say that. There are TNA fans.
Actually,
I can say that because they're not listening right now. And if they are, it's your own fucking fault!
I have said I don't believe there's a million people watching this, so I believe it's one guy with a million cable boxes. And I am sticking to that theory.
It may be. It may be.
To the back!
Impact. They said that Sting would speak for the first time tonight on why he attacked Joe and AJ Styles.
And in fact, that was the title of the show. Sting Speaks.
Now, I know people get angry when I make comparisons to WWE. And they should, given the fact that these are the only two wrestling promotions in the U.S. that both have national TV weekly. Absurd that I would make these comparisons. But let's just say that John Cena. Let's say that John Cena's out right now. He's out with a neck injury. He's not going to be out 2 months, okay? Let's pretend that John Cena is while he's gone, they do an angle with John Cena. A fucking chain keeps coming into play.
Very good.
Or a rap or something like that. And it's a big mystery as to whether...
Wait, stop. A rap comes into play?
Sure.
Once a week, someone uncontrollably speaks in rhyme?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'd be a mystery, of course.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Carry on.
Or a clock. A clock on a chain. Anyway, so let's just pretend a bunch of John Cena-related bullshit occurs. A jersey. Sneakers appear every week.
Oh, I like the rap idea.
Jean shorts.
Everyone raps, and they all look around like, hey, why are you rapping?
Like the lights go out and a dude is laid out, and next to him are a pair of jean shorts. And this just happens week after week.
Okay.
And it's like, what a mystery. Who could this possibly be?
This also implies John Cena's running around the arena nude.
You know how it is. The lights are out. So anyway, let's just pretend this is happening. And they finally announced that next week John Cena is going to reveal if this is him, okay? Now, what do you think would happen? Do you think that they would tease it throughout the show, and then in the final quarter, John Cena would appear and speak as advertised? Or do you think that the very first person that you saw on the show would be John Cena in a 5-second segment?
Most likely the former.
You'd think. Now, Sting hasn't been on TV forever. There's been all this mystery. They announced that Sting's going to speak this week. And who's the first fucking guy we see on TV? Sting. Announcing that he's going to speak. No shit, we knew that. They didn't even save the fucker till the end of the show.
Oh.
So that was stupid.
He showed up, of course, out of makeup, in his street clothes, just a guy.
Yeah.
Letting us know Sting is in fact Steve
Borden. So maybe
Borden.
just Steve Borden showed up.
He's just a guy.
Yeah. Sting was going to talk later, but for right now, Steve Borden just showed up.
You know what strikes me is when Hunter came back from his first quad tear, and they teased it for like a month, and then throughout the show, and then he came out for the big angle at the end, and all that happened was he came out, everyone cheered, Angle came out and got pedigreed, and that was it.
Yeah.
Everyone went crazy and was very happy with it.
It was great. This was not.
This is different.
Actually, the Sting promo at the end I thought was great, but we'll get to that later. Kong versus Josie of Ohio Valley Derby City fame, who was on TV 2 months ago doing the angle with Kong as a fan out of the crowd. However, they pretended that never happened. They claimed this was her debut, and they also gave her a new name, which is apparently Sojourner Bolt. That's what they said, was it not?
That was the impression I got. That was her new name.
I need to find out.
It can't be that bad. It's worse than Gavin.
Sojourner Bolt, yes.
That is worse than Garrison Cade.
Let's look at
horrible names they've come up with lately.
Let's see. Yeah, Sojourner Bolt. What? Somebody saw the Olympics, clearly.
Yes.
So we're supposed to believe that she's like
Jamaican.
No, related. Like she's maybe the fastest woman on Earth.
I see.
Why? What a dumb name. So she got Sojourner Bolt. She got beaten quickly with the Awesome Bomb.
Hell of a debut.
And then...
She also failed to run the ropes once.
Well, yeah, she's on the wrong side. But so then afterwards, Kong hit the ring. And actually, Kong was already in the ring. But she hit Josie. And she was beaten on her. And the heels went to chair shot her to death. But fellow former Ohio Valley star ODB made the save. It made sense to me, so I was happy. And then she destroyed Awesome Kong, beating the holy hell out of her until Geeks ran down to make the save. Now, it was a fine little post-match angle, I guess. Although, to me, I was just wondering, what the hell's ODB so mad about? Was this not an irrational level of anger?
I was more concerned about the fact that Awesome Kong had to be saved.
Well, yeah.
By a squad of men.
Yes, a bunch of geeks at the ring. A swarm of geeks.
Which I guess with Gale gone, they have to make ODB the superstar, but no, not like this, no.
Yeah.
This was bad. Awesome Kong was helpless.
I was also, there were many things to be angry about here. It was all fine, but they should have done something more with Josie, since if I recall correctly, in that entire gimmick of getting fans out of the crowd, she was the second most over, aside from the current women's champion. And here she was with a new name, and she got buried. So, thumbs down.
The end for Sojourner.
And at least Awesome Kong could have tried to steal ODB's beer as well, or something. Something to warrant this insane reaction.
Or ODB could have beat Raisha, and Raisha had to be saved, so Awesome Kong doesn't have her invulnerability ruined.
Well, she did.
This is just dumb.
AJ did a promo that reeked of shittiness, and it was just no good. Hyped up the qualifying match next week, I believe, with who? Christian?
Yes.
And then the ongoing feud with Angle. And then he said he'd done something with Kurt's medals, but of course, that is also a mystery.
I don't think we never did find out, did we?
No, it's a mystery.
AJ was stumbling through his lines here, partly because I think he had to try to explain his history with Christian, which of course makes no sense. As he pointed out, they were friends, then they were enemies, now they kind of get along again, and now they're going to wrestle. It's more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it, and that's still confusing.
Then we had let's see, what did we have?
This is the Consequences Creed part.
We had a Consequences Creed, the bullshit. Then we had a match, which, just to jump to the finish, they did this big, long Consequences Creed video package. Then they had Creed and Jay Lethal against Sheik Abdul-Bashir and Petey Williams, and Jay Lethal won.
You're right. That's what happened. And I had two made note of this. Lethal, I underlined it. Lethal won. So not only did they do the big video package, were they not teasing the Bashir, PD, Consequences three-way feud? Hasn't that been building, or am I crazy?
You're crazy, apparently.
I guess I was wrong.
Sheik Abdul and Petey Williams are both heels, but they don't like each other, of course, and they got in a brawl afterwards, which also had geeks running out. So 2 segments in a row with geeks running out. How this stuff gets by, I have no idea. I do have an idea, actually. They have no idea what they're doing. But the other thing here, David made mention that the Sheik doesn't work in TNA. And I can tell you why. I've discovered the answer to this question. There are 2 types of people in TNA. There are the serious folk, AJ, Joe, Nash, Steve Borden, guys who we're supposed to take seriously. We don't, but we're supposed to. We're supposed to take AJ seriously. He's a young redneck from wherever the fuck he's from. And Sting's really Steve Borden, but he puts on the makeup and he's a wacky man. And Samoa Joe's a mad Samoan. And Kevin Nash is an old guy who doesn't like to do anything but make money. It's all supposed to be very realistic. Then you've got the fucking clowns, like Eric Young and Curry Man.
Jay Lethal.
Sanjay
Dutt.
Well, you're not really supposed to take them seriously. Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal, I don't really count them, because Jay Lethal, you're still supposed to take him seriously, because when he gets mad, he's not a gimmick anymore. But, like, there's the clowns. There's the Eric Young.
Shark Boy,
those geeks.
The Rockin' Raves.
Now, the serious guys we're supposed to take seriously, and the clowns are supposed to be clowns. The gimmicks. The Sheik Abdul-Bashir is a fucking gimmick. But we're supposed to take it seriously. Impossible. We're supposed to believe that the guy that managed that Mohammed fucking Hussein, we're supposed to believe that he's now a sheik? No.
Sure.
It's fake. That's why it doesn't work. That's my theory. Anyway, they did
a lot of thought into Sheik Abdul-Bashir there.
I did, because I was watching it too, and when he, because I thought of it too when he came down the aisle, and there's like, what the hell was his WWE name?
Not Muhammad Hassan.
Now this is sad.
Yeah. Muhammad Hassan was the guy
What's
he
the
managed.
fuck's his real name?
Daivari.
Oh yeah,
Khosrow Daivari.
Khosrow Daivari. Here's Daivari.
Which, by the way, they called him that on the show like 2 months ago.
Daivari is coming down the ramp. Sean Daivari, in like a turban, and he's called the Sheik. And I'm just watching and I'm like, this is so low rent. We're supposed to believe it like a Sheik is in the weekly Impact Zone.
Sure.
Get real now.
Well, I would disagree with you somewhat because you mentioned he was just a sheik for no reason. Guys do that all the time in this company. Robert Roode one day was just all about money for no reason.
Well, yeah. But
Kip James was suddenly a hairdresser for no reason.
But no, it's different, though. Kip's gay. Okay? Robert Roode, they said he came into some money. They offhandedly mentioned it. That's fine. When did Khosrow Daivari become a sheik? Explain that.
Went to night school and took some classes in
Oh, is that what it is? The Universal Life Church?
Sure.
So anyway, they had a match, and Petey did a flip and land on his head, and then there was a finish, and yes, Jay Lethal won.
For no good reason.
Yeah, and then the partners fought. So that was dumb.
We were then invited to cross the line.
Yeah.
We chose not to.
Then we had the beautiful people and Kip James giving Lauren a makeover. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, you're skipping way ahead.
Yeah, I am.
Where the hell are you?
I don't know.
Two segments ahead.
This mouse, when I try and scroll down, apparently scrolls too far.
Yeah, sadly, it was not the beautiful people, it was ODB.
Let me tell you about this interview. First off, she said, "I'm one dirty bitch." It was not bleeped. Then she said she was more of a beast than Kong could ever be. She smelled her armpit. She said she liked it hard and rough, and then pointed at her ass. I did not need to see that. She said she apparently liked it in the ass every Friday night.
When she was wasted.
Yeah, she said, I quote, "Because I'm wasted half the time, I hardly know what I'm doing or saying." She pointed to her vajayjay and said it was wide open, and then said something about beer and boobs. All true.
That was it. All I know is one of the last things she said was, she's referring to her saloon, which I believe is what she calls her vagina, which was, as you noted, was always wide open. And she said it had beers, beers, broads, and boobs. And all I can think was, never have those three words been less appealing.
What in the hell was this?
I have no idea.
What is the appeal of this
beast? I've been trying
beast?
to figure out the appeal of ODB for like 2 years now, and it still mystifies me.
Wow. So then Abyss was on Karen's angle. Speaking of shit.
This is the best thing I ever saw.
Actually, I need to go back. I missed something here. As much as I bitched about the Jay Lethal Sheik thing, the only good thing about it was when Petey and the Sheik started brawling. Even though they're two heels, the fans were chanting, "Fight, fight, fight." So that was at least good. Anyway, on the shit. Karen Angle had Abyss on the show, who had to remind her that his name was Chris Parks. Sat cross-legged, rocked back and forth.
Through the table.
I'm wondering what they're going to do when they get Foley. What do they need this man for? I don't know what they need the man for now. But with Foley, he's even more useless.
With Foley, they have a much better crazy guy.
So, anyway, he basically hit on her and then read her a poem, and she screamed and whimpered in her chair, but could not just get out of her chair and flee.
She was trapped in the chair.
Trapped in a chair. And finally he tore out his hair and he gave it to her. And she is the worst talk show host in television history.
Yes.
Where's the Karen Angle that we were all infatuated with when she first started?
I don't know.
She has gotten worse on a weekly basis. I don't even know how. She started out with more upside than anybody in TNA. And now, wretched.
Just a short shelf life, I guess.
Wretched.
Yes, Chris Parks sat down. He made sure we knew that he was Chris Parks. And he explained, you see, Abyss is a destructive, menacing force that destroys people. He said, that's Abyss. Chris Parks is a nice guy. But he explained, there's Abyss is always inside him trying to get out. Okay? That's what he said. Chris Parks is a nice guy, but Abyss is always inside him trying to get out. Okay? I get this concept. Then he immediately slams his fists together and says, Chris Parks and Abyss are one. Now I am completely confused. And I have no idea what's going on. Then he decided to read Karen a poem. I had no idea Abyss was such a wordsmith. He read her a great bad poem. I should have written down more of it, but yes, he involved like a pool of blood and tearing out his own hair.
It was not as good as Kane's and Lita's
wedding vows.
Wedding vows. Those will never be topped.
I hate you more than life itself. And, of course, when she finally finished, Kane gently said, "That was lovely."
We got to find that on YouTube.
That was a beautiful segment. That was much better than this bullshit here with Chris Parks and Karen Angle. And, yes, finally, he tore out his own hair, which I think he really did because it took about 5 tries to do. And then he left, and Karen kind of whined and cried, and it ended. Now you're looking up Kane.
I'm looking up Kane and Lita's vows on YouTube. I realized that YouTube killed this show last time, but I refuse to quit.
You have faith in YouTube.
Oh, Kane Lita wedding. It's right here.
And Trish in that outfit.
Oh, that was a good one. All right. Let's see. I wish we just had the vows. Would it be part 1, part 2, or part 3?
I would assume part 2.
Part 2? All right.
Part 1 was probably the entrance with Kane's music on cello. Part 3 is probably the part where Matt came out and ruined things. Somewhere in there they did the vows.
Carrying my child. You are now.
Did he go first?
I don't remember.
My property.
Let's see here. Come on, YouTube. Don't let me down. Maybe I should.
You.
All right, I'll load it up while we.
All right, we'll keep going.
While we play a song, and then we'll come back to it. What's so funny?
Let's go.
Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it, jump on it.
What are they saying?
Tomco, jump on it.
I'm doing good.
Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it.
The man with a 10-inch gun.
Jump on it, jump on it.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. Even by the standards of this show, that was a damn strange drop.
Well, Tonto jump on it is it's a parody of it.
Oh. Now it's also clear to me.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, we're still. Oh, there's Trish Stratus. You can't
Plain
see this.
terrible that on your big night,
God, she
you
looks
didn't even
good.
have a maid of honor. So I
Wow. All right, let's go back to
Very talented young lady.
let's go back to the show, and then we'll. That was one of the greatest moments in wrestling history when Trish came out in that outfit. I just wanted to say that. Why do these buttons not work on this goddamn mouse?
I ask again, is the old mask still here?
It's somewhere, but I refuse to use it.
Why would you want to use a machine that works?
Because I want to use the one I just bought! All right. Then we add,
The beautiful people.
oh, this mouse is just pissing me off. Start talking about the beautiful people while I try to figure this out.
Well, the good news
There's got to
is,
be a setting that I'm using wrong on here.
the good news is, they did not spend the entire promo talking to Laura and the interview girl. No, they kicked her out halfway through. So they spent half the interview talking to Laura, the interview girl. Then Velvet Sky began to speak. She read a promo that had clearly been written for her by someone else. And by written, I mean written very poorly. She referred to Roxy and, who was Roxy's partner? Was ODB? Roxy and Taylor. She referred to them as a hideous duo. She said they were below the beautiful people. And she said that the beautiful people were the person all the girls hated and all the boys wanted to be with. And Angelita said, "Don't be so humble. All the girls want to be with us too." And then she turned to the camera and said, "But we don't swing that way.
Yeah, they're not.
We have proven, or at least claimed, that the beautiful people are not lesbians."
Yep. They've ruined it. They ruined it in every conceivable way in this promo right here.
And Kip James was there, and they vowed to get Taylor tonight and then get her again at the pay-per-view. So, yeehaw.
Yeehaw, everybody.
We are back here live, ladies and gentlemen, here on Monday.
Sorry, everybody. I had to get, it wasn't in the second part. It was in part 1. So, all right. Let's get back to this show right here.
The show being TNA.
Yeah. Then we had Angle and Trigg do an interview.
I must stop you. Something. I don't know why this annoyed me so much, but it annoyed me greatly. There's the beautiful people backstage. Then they come back to a crowd shot, and Mike TNA told us, up next, Kurt Angle and Frank Trigg. And then it was, in fact, Kurt Angle and Frank Trigg next.
Yeah.
Why did they just go straight to them?
Because they needed to go to the back.
They can't just go from the back to the back?
No, they got to go from the back to the front to the back.
I see.
Hello? Anyway, more talking. It was Angle and Trigg doing an interview. By the way, Kip James with the Beautiful People. I asked for the fucking 2 chicks and Maurice as a trio, and I get Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
Fuck them. So, anyway, we had Borash telling Kurt that AJ didn't have his medals, but they were in good hands. He was about to freak out, and Trigg told him to calm down and concentrate on his match with Nash. Said he'd handle it because he wasn't a clown like Tomko who ran off to Japan to be a shoot fighter. Best line on the show. I don't care if it was inside. I laughed.
It was inside because, for those of you who don't know, Frank Trigg did in fact recently go to Japan for a shoot fight.
Yeah.
So he was lying.
Curry Man against Jimmy Rave. Best match on the show. They had a match. There was no bullshit. There was a winner. Awesome.
It went 2 minutes max.
Curry won with the Curry drop.
Literally, the very first move was the flip tope.
The London calling.
And within 20 seconds, there was also interference, and the Jimmy Rave got the heat, and then they took it home a minute and a half later.
So Christie then baited Curry Man, letting Lance Rock hit the ring and beat him up. Why? I don't know. But anyway, they cut to the back, and Cornette was upset about what Christie had just done. Now, if you've been listening to this show, you'll recall that in the first segment, there was bullshit after the match that required 50 geeks to hit the ring. In the second match, there was bullshit after the match that caused 60 geeks to hit the ring. In the third match, there was bullshit after the ring that I believe required a run-in. Is that correct?
This was the third match.
Oh, this was the third match. This was the one that pissed off Cornette.
Yes. Because it was a woman.
So
I guess.
He signed Christie and the Rockin' Raves against the Prince Justice Brotherhood. Yes. 2 guys and a girl against 3 guys.
3 superheroes.
I don't know. So then he called in Tracy and said he was going to give her the job as Knockout Law. You keep these chicks out of my hair, he explained. That was that.
He said every girl wanted to be in the TNA Knockouts division. He claimed to have 700 applicants. 700.
Yes. They can do a PWI 500 with chicks, apparently.
Just chicks, not good enough to make the Knockouts division.
I was unaware of that.
If they are actually getting audition tapes, I demand these make the air.
Yeah.
This would be fine entertainment. So yes, he said he explained to her that wrestlers are products and products have a shelf life, and it's her job to, I guess, fire girls. Because he said he actually used the term future endeavors and wished them well. Yeah.
Yeah. Boring. And then we had Borash interviewing Booker and Team 3D in Booker's dressing room. A bunch of comedy. I have no idea what the point of it was.
Or I.
But I know that Booker has gone from having a southern accent to a British accent, and now an accent similar to El Guapo from the Three Amigos.
It started off, I thought he was imitating Prince Nana from Ring of Honor, and then by the end it was more Mexican.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Devon and Bubba were fighting over robes. Devon won, by the way. He had this awesome leopard skin thing, whereas poor Bubba was in this red like kimono with a beanie on his head, looked like a fool. But yes, and they were fighting with King Booker's fondue toys, and Booker kicked them out. That was the promo.
Nash did an awesome promo, amazing. Said it was time for him to get a shot at the title, and then he immediately said, but I don't want to win the title.
Right.
Said this was a wake-up call to Joe. He'd been walking around the building all day looking for him, and, quote, I'm blown up. And he was going to beat Angle tonight and go to the pay-per-view to watch his back. And if Joe wasn't up to the task that day, he might be the world champion for the 6th time. That was the promo.
He was walking around the building and got blown up.
Then we had Angle versus Joe. Shockingly little heat for this match. Angle went for a high cross. Nash caught him and could barely walk. He was all wobbly. I feel very bad for Nash. I rarely feel this bad for these people in this business. Nash is not like the dynamite fucking kid that destroyed his body doing stupid shit, and now he's in a wheelchair. Nash is a guy that was just an athlete since high school, and he's 7 feet fucking tall, and his knees are shot.
Yep.
And it just sucks. This poor guy's going to be in a wheelchair in 5 years. He can't even walk.
No.
And he's carrying around a 210-pound man, and he can barely do it.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
There's a point, Angle worked his legs over, and Nash made a comeback, and he set Kurt up with the ropes and did the, whatever you call it, that running move where you do the leg drop on the guy like Bossman used to do. On the one hand, he was selling his leg, but Jesus Christ. Watching him try to sell his leg and run at the same time, all I could think was, retire, dude. Please.
So he made a big comeback, and they ended up outside, and for some reason he just slapped Joe. Why?
I have no idea.
Was there a fight last week? I could have sworn they were friends the last time I watched this show.
Dude, they were friends in the interview Nash did right before this.
I feel
Nash,
like...
he issued a warning to Joe, but he said they were friends for now. And then Joe came out and said, hey, we are friends, and I understand Nash wants my title, and that's cool. They were friends when the match began.
I honestly believe that Impact is actually a twice-weekly show.
They're not telling you about the other parts.
And we always miss, like, the Tuesday airing. There's no explanation for this whatsoever. Why are these guys fucking fighting again? They were just friends.
Maybe they had an...
And the last time they fought, they were just friends the next day.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, Brian. That's the key.
This is why I hate this show, as I mentioned last week. Just makes sense. I hate you every day equally. We don't go back and forth. Logic.
Oh, you and me?
Yeah.
I see, yes. Okay.
So, then, anyway, Joe distracted his friend.
Who hit him.
There was a low blow and Olympic slam in angle one. And then Joe screamed at Nash to practice what you preach. Again, another mystery. I have no idea what they're talking about. And Nash just bailed.
The match was actually, in a weird way, fun until the shitty finish.
In what way?
Just because most matches on TNA, I mentioned things like, they did 800,000 moves, and Kevin Nash, A, can't, and B, is smart enough not to. So it was, the fact that it was so slower paced, it was more relaxed for me. It was a nice change of pace on Impact. I wouldn't want to see every match like this.
A very special...
Kane's doing his vows. This is lame.
Quietly, apparently.
Where are her vows at?
Commence. There's a man who has some leader. Acid. Occasion. Messages. Awesome.
This is all the Kane
Illustrate
stuff.
that the
Maybe
couple
that
has
is in
decided
part
to
two.
write their own.
All right, well, let's try this again. It's already loaded up.
The woman carrying my child.
Apparently it's not loaded up. All right, let's go back to the show and we'll get back to this. This YouTube is just bullshit. All right. Then we had TNA and West saying the wrestling world had been speculating about who was behind the mystery guitar. That's what he said.
There's everywhere they went, they said, restaurants, airports, hotels, people were accosting them and wanting to know, they wanted speculation on the mystery of the guitar. I don't believe one word of that.
Yeah.
Not a one.
Then they add a Jeff Jarrett video package. Still haven't said his name, but they've showed a video package. Now, I want to start off by saying that it was very, very sad when they showed all of the stuff with his wife, Jill, who passed away in the past year after a long battle with cancer. That part was very sad. The rest of this video, first off, they called him a 12-time champion. Like he's Triple H. Then the video package and the music and the clips, they were trying to make me believe this was the second coming of Ric Flair.
Right.
This company amazes me. I guess that's what
Actually,
you have to do.
I will correct you, Brian. They're trying to make you think it's the first coming of Jeff Jarrett.
I see.
That's even better than Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the one hand, I mean, promote. They were promoting their guy. That's good. But they were talking about how he had founded this company and carried it on his back for 4.5 years, in which they lost all that money. and it's Jeff Jarrett. He's a guy.
Hey, he's like, I carried this company on my back for 4 years. And I'm thinking, what a first 4 years that was, Jeff. What a first 4 years that was.
And there was the segment with his wife, which was, of course, incredibly sad. And I hate to even knock anything about it, but they never mentioned what happened to his wife. They only mentioned that she was his strength and his support and the wonderful person in his life, and that's it. So if they have had gained a new viewer in the past year, this person watched the segment and then had no idea what happened. That's bad.
Well, they haven't gained any new viewers in the past year, so it doesn't matter.
I speak hypothetically.
Lauren interviewed Val, who had her eye made up like it was black and blue, and long story short, she gave her ring to Lauren. She said, hang it above the ring. Jay and Sanjay will fight for it, and the winner gets me.
Yes.
I would let my opponent climb that ladder so fucking fast. I'd set the ladder up for him, and I'd push him on the ass as he tried to get up that thing. I'd say, go faster.
She said she would marry the winner. Spend the rest of her life with the winner of this wrestling match.
Yeah.
And when Lauren...
This was the only solution.
Not
dumping both of them.
When Lauren began to protest, she said, it's the only way I need out of this madness.
No, she basically said, I know it sounds dumb.
I know it sounds ridiculous. But it's the only way.
The only way.
Which is, in fact, a lie.
Climb that ladder, you two fuckers.
It's a poor way.
Speaking of marriages.
I hate you, Kane, more than life itself. You are a vile, horrible man with no soul. And even though I have no choice but to marry you, I want to make it clear that I love, and I will always love, Matt Hardy.
Wow. Or not. How times have changed.
The only joy I have now in life is in hoping and praying for you to suffer a horrible accident, resulting in your painful and immediate death.
Painful and immediate.
I sincerely hope you rot in hell.
Kane's got a fine scowl.
And the white tux.
And the white tux.
I hate you, Kane, more than life itself.
Okay. God, what a great angle.
It was.
And we had the girls having a match. Taylor Wilde and Roxy against the Beautiful People, which had more heat than Nash versus Angle, and a higher rating, I guarantee. So, they hit Taylor with Kip's makeup case. Roxy got the hot tag. Immediately after coming back from commercial. They didn't even set up the hot tag. They came back from commercial, and it was made. That was a good one. So, then the heels ran wild, or the babyface ran wild, and they had a spot where Taylor was supposed to do a high cross off the top, and Velvet would move, but Velvet moved, seriously, before Taylor had even come close to the top row.
Right.
So she just leaped into the air like an idiot and crashed and burned.
Velvet was on her belly underneath the turnbuckles while Taylor was still clamming.
And then, in more greatness, it's Angelina against Taylor for the title of the pay-per-view.
Right.
So Angelina pinned Roxy.
Right. That's the second time in the show where there's completely inexplicable finish in a tag match. Angelina called out Taylor in her promo. She said, we're wrestling the pay-per-view.
If I could be as bad a booker as Vince Russo.
Then they did this match here, and Roxy started, and when she tagged in Taylor Wilde, Angelina headed for the hills. She wanted no part of her. And then Angelina pinned Roxy.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes, Taylor Wilde, through no fault of her own, was made to look like a complete jackass, and the finish made no sense. The wrestling was fine.
Yeah. Then afterwards, they threatened to cut off Taylor's hair, and Kip grabbed some scissors, and then Rhino made the save. So,
or
six-person.
As Don West said, Rhino? He was incredulous this man would have anything to do with this. Don West can never believe anyone will help anyone else out of the goodness of their heart. He can't understand why Sting saves Booker T. He can't understand why Sting saves AJ. He can't understand why Rhino saves Taylor Wilde's hair. Because he's a gentleman.
Not enough.
No.
It's TNA. Come on now. So, then we had the Sting promo, which actually was the best thing on the show. This was the one goddamn thing that made sense. He came out and said he'd been seriously considering walking away, but he got to thinking about what would happen if he handed the future of this business to today's generation. Basically, he said TNA would die. And he said at Victory Road, Joe had his opponent beat, and all he had to do was pin him, but no, he wanted to bloody him.
Which is true.
He wanted to bloody this jewel in wrestling, a legend in the business in Booker T. Everybody cheered. He said Joe disrespected the legend, all he wanted to do was help. And he said Joe responded by disrespecting him and flipping him off.
True.
Also true. He name-dropped Flair, said Flair had taken him under his wing, like he tried to take Joe under his wing. Said he respected those guys, unlike Joe. He said as far as AJ, this guy went from calling him Mr. Sting to a coward. He said he didn't know AJ anything. Said if he had to be the parent that nobody liked to teach all these spoiled, rotten brats respect, he would. Big pop for that. It's supposed to be a heel promo, by the way.
Yes.
So out came AJ, and he said at Hard Justice, Sting said, at Hard Justice, you weren't happy with getting the pin. You had to try and kill Kurt Angle, a world champion in WWE, TNA, and an Olympic gold medalist.
All true.
People cheered. Sting said, listen, I'm going to give you this bat. I'll turn my back. If you want to hit me over the head, go for it. So AJ spun him around like he was going to hit him, and Sting booted him in the gut and gave him the death drop, and everybody cheered.
And then the show ended.
Yeah.
I have never seen anything so awesome that was such a complete failure at the same time.
Well, I mean, if the idea is that Joe and AJ are turning heel and Sting is turning babyface, grand
this
success.
was a fucking home run, yes.
However, the idea was that Sting is turning heel and Joe and Angle are babyfaces, and this failed monumentally.
Yeah.
And is it strange that it's always obvious when the shit's going to fail, and Vince Russo apparently never figures it out?
Well, let's see.
I can picture him backstage baffled.
Why did people cheer for this man?
Why would people cheer a man who is sitting here telling the truth?
He said things that were true.
That we've
Why are
all
they cheering
seen
him?
with our own eyes. And this other little punk fucker comes out like a coward and was going to hit the man from behind, and he gets punked and laid out like a jabroni, and the people cheered Sting? Why? Gee, I wonder, you dumbass.
It's a complete mystery.
God,
How
this
can
was
this
awesome.
be?
This was awesome.
It was really, like I say, it was great if the idea was to make Sting the grand hero and to make Joe and AJ look like the villains. But I don't think that was the intent.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I've never seen anything so awesome that was such a complete failure at the same time.
That was a show, everybody.
That was a show.
That was a show.
That was definitely better than most Impacts.
It was much better than last week. And this week I just laughed at all the idiocy, unlike last week where I actually really got mad. So I consider that a victory right there.